Now, this is case number 426 on the calendar in the matter of Bowden versus Booth. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Ms. Bowden, according to your complaint, you were visiting a male friend who happens to be the ex-boyfriend of the defendants.
Mm-hmm.
So far correct?
Yes, but they are now back together, that I'm aware of.
Boyfriend.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she came to the house and after some altercation at the house, vandalized your car. And you want her to pay for the damage to the car. She says she didn't do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
When did this happen?
December 22nd, about 1:30 in the morning.
Tell me what happened.
She came to the house and...
And you were at his house?
At his house. We were watching a movie and we heard a bunch of racket outside and we started hearing her scream his name. So he was like, I'm going to go outside and take care of it. So he went outside, asked her to leave, and she was screaming, look what I'm doing to this car. You know, why are you that? Blah, 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 blah. And he was trying to explain to her, we're not, there's nothing going on. And he asked her to leave. She wouldn't leave. Then he threatened to throw a brick through her window. And so she...
He threatened to throw a brick through her window?
Through her window if she didn't leave. So she got in the car and left. And the whole time I was watching through the window, watching whatever was going on. He came back inside, and I said, what did she do to my car? And he said, all she did was break off the windshield wipers. So I went outside.
That's what he said to you?
Yes. So I went outside, and I looked at my car. All four of the tires were flattened. And it was keyed all the way around the car. It said it was keyed on the back, on the trunk. And so he told me, well, we didn't have a phone in the house at that time. So he told me, well, we're just going to have to, you know, wait to call in the morning when his dad had a cell phone. So we had to pull the car around in the front of the house. So we go back inside, and she comes back in another vehicle and breaks the driver's side window.
Did you see her do that?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle did she come back in?
It was a gray Grand Am, I believe.
Was she alone in the car or with someone else?
Someone else.
Was she the driver or the passenger?
She was the passenger.
What kind of street lighting is there around the house?
There is a light on the garage. So I could see her outside standing by my car, and I could see him when he went outside.
So she actually got out of the car to do it, to smash
in the beginning.
No, to smash the window.
Oh, no, she didn't. She was in the car.
Now, when you say you pulled the car to the front, was that in a driveway or on the street?
It was on the street, right in front of his house, on the grass. I have a picture.
I'd like to see it. So here's the picture. Now, she pulled up alongside the car, and she was next to...
Right next to the car.
The window.
Yeah.
Did you hear the window shatter?
Yes, we saw it.
You saw it. And what did you do when you saw the window shatter?
Nothing. She drove off. They drove off real fast.
When did you report this to the police?
The next morning.
May I see the police report, please? Did you file charges with the city prosecutor?
No.
You did not? Tell me why.
Because I had already called and made plans to come here, and plus it cost money, the money that I didn't have.
Okay.
Because she ain't had no proof I did it because I didn't do it.
Stand up. Over there. Tell me your name.
Greg Freeman.
Speak up.
Greg Freeman, Your Honor.
Mr. Freeman, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
Temporary services at the time.
Okay. You think you're smart?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think smarter, you or me?
Figure you.
You're right. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because your girlfriend over here says I didn't do anything. On the evening of December 22nd, you were at your home with the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
Did your former girlfriend, now your current girlfriend, come over to the house that night?
Later that night.
Did you have an argument?
Yes. And it wasn't an argument. We had a discussion.
You had a discussion?
Yeah.
And subsequently, after the discussion and after a period of time, the defendant left. Is that right?
Yeah.
And did there come a time when you and the plaintiff went out to look at her car?
We went to leave.
You went to, did you
Later
look,
on.
Did you look at her car?
Did we look at it? No,
Yes.
we just got inside and we was about to leave to go over a friend's house.
Did you see any damage to her car?
Not until after we pulled it in the front of my house.
Okay.
Because all four tires was flat.
And what about the windshield wipers?
The windshield wipers.
Were they broken?
There was one.
That was
One was
broken.
messed up.
was
I don't know how bad, but it was messed up.
Okay. And did you witness who did that?
No,
You did not.
no, I didn't.
Did you witness who did any of the damage to her car?
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
No.
Then can you explain to me, Mr. Freeman, why you gave a statement to the police?
I didn't give no statement.
Quiet. Why you gave a statement to the police that said both the victim and her boyfriend, that would be you at the time, stated that they witnessed the event.
Wasn't me. I ain't witness nothing, Your Honor. I ain't see nothing. I ain't even.
You don't see nothing,
I
you
didn't
don't
see
know
nothing.
nothing, you weren't there, and you just had a
It's
discussion
the
with
truth.
her. And you
It's
just
the
had.
truth. I didn't see her
Listen
do
to me.
none of the damage.
Listen to me, sir. On your best day, you are not as smart as I am on my worst day. Can you figure that out?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Annika Bowden says her friend's girlfriend, Anna Booth, scratched insults into the side of her car. Anna says Annika was trying to secretly date her boyfriend.
Why in the world would this young lady, after you had a pretty violent confrontation with your now girlfriend, where you threatened to throw a brick through her window if she didn't leave? Now that's a
That
pretty
wasn't
violent
true either.
confrontation. Quiet! Why would you describe that to me as a discussion? Humma?
A discussion.
That's what you just
We
told me.
didn't have an argument.
You had a
We
discussion.
had a discussion.
I said, why would you describe to me an event where you threatened to throw a brick through her window if she didn't
I never
leave?
said that.
You didn't?
No.
You were happy to see her at 1:30 in the morning at your house?
It wasn't 1:30.
What time was it?
Around 11.
You were happy to see her at 11 o'clock at night at your
Yeah,
house?
I called her and told her to come over.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Sit down. The only problem that you have is a case of very bad judgment. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very bad judgment.
I understand.
Because I don't know how long this thing was your boyfriend, but it
Thing.
seems to me that that is an example.
We were never. It's wrong in the police report.
That it was boyfriend, just
Yeah,
a friend that is a
friend.
boy.
Yes.
Well, you got to pick your friends a little more carefully. Let me see an estimate for the damage to the car. Did he say something?
No, you didn't say anything, did you?
Nope.
He'd be happier if he got pants that fit him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,446.51. Get him out of here.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The car wasn't even worth that in the first place, and I didn't do it.
I'm just thankful that my car is gonna get fixed.
She's probably mad because she wanted to be with Greg after she done ran through all his other friends.
I didn't want anything to do with either of them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bellman versus Curtis. Step forward, please.
28-year-old sales rep Gretchen Bellman is suing her ex-boyfriend, 28-year-old mechanical engineer Justin Curtis, for unpaid credit card charges. Justin says Gretchen ran over his ankle with her car, so they're even.
Mr. Curtis, you look petrified, sir.
A little nervous, Your Honor.
Good. I don't want you to get too comfortable, Mr. Curtis. Miss Bellman, according to your complaint, the cardinal sin was committed by you when you placed him on your joint checking account. The next thing that you foolishly did was you gave him a credit card that you were responsible for that was attached to your, somehow, to your checking account. While involved in this domestic bliss, he managed to run up a bill of in excess of $5,000 on the credit card. Then you broke up. Now, Mr. Curtis here doesn't seem to deny in his answer that he ran up these bills on the credit card that exceed $5,000. You have two defenses. Is that
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
The first defense is that she told you that as long as you paid the truck loan, she was forgiving the $5,000 worth of credit card charges.
Truck payments and the car insurance.
The second defense is that she had, in fact, caused an injury to your foot when she ran over your foot or your ankle with the car, and that she should be responsible for paying your medical bills, etc. Those
And
are your
lost
two
wages.
And lost wages. So, since there is no issue other than your bad judgment with regard to giving him access to your money, we're going to go directly to Mr. Curtis because I have to see what his defenses are. Do you understand?
Yes.
She co-signed for a loan for a truck for you. You have the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did she co-sign for the truck?
April of 2000.
What are you asking me for? I don't know the answer to that question,
I'm
Mr.
trying
Curtis.
to think of it. April 2000.
And were you living together at the time?
No.
But you were in a relationship at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you made the payments regularly?
Yes, and I have evidence of that.
Good. Why did she have to co-sign this truck loan for you?
I don't have very good credit, Your Honor. And I knew I wouldn't be approved by myself, and my truck had broken down, and I needed a vehicle. And she said, we were figuring on spending the rest of our lives together, so she co-signed for me.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
You have parents?
Divorced parents, Your Honor.
Divorce doesn't mean they're dead.
Yeah,
They're still alive.
parents, yes.
So you didn't ask your parents to co-sign for the truck loan?
No.
You asked her?
I don't know. No, I wouldn't ask my parents. Well, it just came down to that, and she basically agreed to it. I don't know.
Well, you must have asked her.
Yeah.
Asked her.
We talked about it mutually, yes.
What kind of truck did you buy?
Z71 Chevy extended cab.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a mechanical engineer.
Do you work in an office?
No, I'm outdoors.
So you need this truck for business?
For business, yes. I put on about 50,000 miles a year. I drive all over.
How much this truck?
22,000. And we got extended warranty. It costs a little bit more. And
Not we, you.
Yeah.
Shouldn't drive the truck.
it's me.
What date did you separate?
October. Well, we were living together, and she broke up with me July 4th.
When did you start living together? I thought when you bought the truck.
October 2000.
You started living together?
Yep. And we lived together till October 2001 because that was the lease. But we broke up before that, and we still lived together.
And now, when did this incident happen with your foot?
September 22nd of 2001.
How did it happen?
Well, she's your classic redhead. She's very, very short-tempered. We were out drinking at a bar, having dinner, and I went over and talked to my friends, and she was sitting on the couch, and I left her alone, so she stormed out of the bar, and I went chasing her, saying, I need to ride, at least give me the keys, I need a ride home. She got in her car, she wouldn't let me in, she locked the car door, so I stood on the side of her car on her side steps and hang on, and she backed out of the parking spot, I fell off and ran over my ankle.
So you stood on her car?
I was standing on the side steps so she wouldn't take off. I wanted keys to get in the house.
Jumping
and she
up
backed
and down.
And she backed up fast, must have been too fast. I fell off and the front tire.
What were you doing on her car?
So she'd give me the keys to my house. So
Well, then you're responsible for your own accident.
Yep.
She's not responsible for your accident. You are.
Well, why would she back out when I'm standing?
Why would you stand on her car? Why don't you go and ask the person who you were talking to when you were leaving her alone in the bar to give you a ride home?
Just a couple of friends I haven't seen in a long time.
So. Well, good. A couple of friends. Ask them for a ride home. Don't go standing on her car. She wanted to leave. You didn't want her to leave. You stood on her car. She left. It's the way it goes. So I've just taken care of one of your defenses. Now tell me about this. Forget about the credit card, just as long as you pay the truck loan.
When we broke up, in one of our conversations, she said on the phone, I don't care about the credit card. I don't care about anything. She goes, just keep on making the payments on the truck and the car insurance, and I'll take care of everything else.
Did you say that to him?
You know, why would I tell him that?
No, I'm asking you a question, not why would. Don't ask me a question. I ask questions, you answer. Did you tell him that you were forgiving the credit card bills?
I said, I just want you out of my life, and I don't want to have to call you every month, which I had to have to do every month to get him to pay the card. He never paid the card on time, and so I said, I just don't want to have to deal with you. But then the more I got to thinking about it, I'm like, this is $5,000 that's going out of my pocket that he frivolously charged just in
Let me see the
overdraft.
things that he bought.
Your Honor, it's a joint checking account. Credit card's her name. There's no way to prove that if they're all mine. They could
Well,
be
I want to
hers,
take
too.
a look and see. You didn't even mention that as one of your defenses, sir, that they're not your charges. I just want to see what kind of things were purchased. What are all these overdrafts from credit card or online? What is this?
That's the credit card is an overdraft protection, or it's like basically a credit card with a joint checking account.
So you would go and get cash out of this. You would
not
put your
necessarily
money
same.
into the account.
It was both of ours, Your Honor. The joint checking account. She had the card for that same account too.
Actually, I didn't use anything in the card because he had actually convinced me after I had took his debit card. Because see, the problem is that
There's
he
no way to
thinks the
prove it that
debit
they're
card
mine.
is just, it says Visa, so he thinks it's just a credit card. So what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to get myself a primary checking account. He could not even get a checking account. So I left my name as the primary on this checking account, and I had direct deposits and paid all the bills out of my account.
How many accounts did you have?
I had 2 accounts, but I did nothing with that account. I said, you know what? You prove to me that you're responsible, and you take care of this checking account. And look what happens. $5,000 later, I've got
There might be hers too, Your Honor.
nothing.
Might be.
There's a joint
Nothing.
checking account. They're both.
It might be.
They're not mine. I mean, it's a joint checking account. There's no way they're not. She could be having some of the charges on there too, because she had access to it too.
Mr. Curtis, that's possible, sir. Did you have any other checking account at the time that you had this one?
No, Your Honor.
Did you deposit your check any place other than in this account?
No, Your Honor.
Did she deposit her check, her paycheck, in this account?
She did, and then she did on her other one, too.
No, I.
No. Well, I'm going to let you look at these things, and you show me where she deposited her check in this account. Okay? I see yours.
I don't even see any deposits in here.
You used this account for a year, sir. Is that right?
We both did, Your Honor.
No, you say you both did. That's not what you say in your answer, sir. I read your answer very carefully. Your answer is twofold. Your answer says, A, she ran over your foot, and B, she forgave the money. Nowhere in your answer did you say that there's no way of establishing how much is her money and how much is mine. And why would she maintain a second checking account that would just be confusing? That would be illogical.
Yes, Your Honor.
So all I have to determine is, Mr. Curtis, is whether, in addition to being foolish and giving you an account in which she was also responsible, whether she also was foolish enough to say in actuality, I'm going to forgive this $5,000 as long as you make payments on the truck.
I didn't care. I just wanted to be done. Didn't want to deal with her
You
anymore.
wanted to be done, you pay
And
her
all
what
of a sudden I
you
get a deputy sheriff at my workplace handing me papers saying she's serving me in
Good.
court.
Well, then you should have paid what you owed her. You deposited your check, you drew money out, you drew out more money than you deposited, building up a balance of well over $5,000. There is no reason in the world, there is no consideration for her really excusing this debt because you are under an obligation to pay for the truck loan anyway. You still have the truck, don't you?
Yeah, so the truck is in her name and my name. The checking account was in her name, and the credit card was in her name.
I understand that, but she has two accounts, sir. One you used and one she used. Miss Bellman, how old are you?
28. I know. I've been through it. I know.
How many times?
2 years.
No, not only with him. Have you ever done it before?
No, never.
Will you ever do it again?
Never.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Suing her former roommate, 20-year-old college student Layla Richardson, for purposely bleaching her clothes.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 534 on the calendar in the matter of Trester versus Richardson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Miss Trester, the defendant was a roommate of yours, and it is your claim that when she moved out, she purposely bleached your clothes, and in addition, she either took or stole some of your property.
Yes.
Defendant says nonsense. When did you move in together?
We moved in August.
How many people were sharing the apartment?
There's 4 of us all together.
Was it an apartment, a
It
townhouse?
was a townhome, three levels.
Were you going to school or working?
I do both.
And the other people?
My brother and the other roommate work, and Layla was working at the time.
When did you move out?
I moved out on November 9th, 2000.
Had you signed the lease?
Yes, I had.
So you broke your lease when you moved out?
No, I had cleared it with our landlord.
But you were breaking your lease by moving out early?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me why you moved out.
I moved out because I would come home various nights from work and pretty much in the living room, couch, entertainment center, everything was mine. And stuff was getting misused on my entertainment center. My cats were purposely being let outside, and they weren't outside cats. And I was just, you know, I moved all my stuff up to my room pretty much. And a couple days later, I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming, visiting a friend. Cassandra called me and pretty much told me that it was unfair that I moved my stuff upstairs because, you know, all the roommates were using it. And I explained that pretty much, you know, if they can't use it properly, it is my stuff. I should be able to move it up to my room if I'd like to. And pretty much after that, we just weren't getting along, arguing, yelling at each other. And I had previously been in a car accident. I didn't need any extra stress, so I figured it was better for both of us just to end the situation and for me to move out and move on.
Now, Ms. Trester, it is your claim that the defendant damaged some of your property, and that was on the 9th of November?
Yes.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, actually, to correct her, the reason she moved out is we actually had a physical confrontation a couple days before. She had thrown a bowl at my head and I slapped her back.
She had thrown a what at your head?
A cat food bowl at my head, and I had slapped her back. I went in later that day and apologized and was like, we'll work these things out. I know you lost your job, you don't have rent.
I can cover you for a little bit longer. We just need to work on it. She wasn't paying her
How long
bills.
hadn't she paid the rent?
It was due on the 1st, so she moved out on the 9th, so it was 9 days late. And the main thing was that our bills she had written checks to bounced, and she was unwilling to take care of them. That was the problem. And she was like, I'm too busy to take care of it. So I was like, well, you need to take care of it or get out. At that point, we were okay. I came home. I felt that her moving her stuff out of the front room was vindictive because she was doing it because she was upset at me. And I told her, if this is the way it's going to continue to be, maybe it'll be better if you get out. I would rather have you out. She said that I was overreacting. We needed to talk about it. So I was like, we'll talk about it when I get home from work the next day. She called me at work from that day, that was on the 7th, and told me that she was moving out. I went home that night to monitor things getting moved around because, of course, things always get taken when people move out. And her mom and her were egging me on to fight, saying that I wasn't tough enough. So I went up into my room and stayed until I had heard that they'd left. When I left, I came downstairs to grab all my stuff because while I was up in my room, I heard her and her mom constantly going, is this Cassie's stuff? If it is, I don't care, break it. It's not mine. I don't care, break it. Hearing things thud, hit the wall, laughing, just very horrible things. So when I came downstairs, the first thing I went to was my clothes because that's most important to most girls. But and I went into there and the bleach was just overwhelming. Like my eyes started burning.
On what floor is the laundry room?
It's on the first level. The 2 bedrooms are upstairs, so I came downstairs and I could smell bleach as soon as I got to the bottom of the stairs and went in there. And lo and behold, all of my clothes have bleach on them. And the bleach bottle was standing up and had the cap on it. So I called the police and made a report, and that's this for you.
What other items do you say that the defendant has of yours?
Clothes, books. She had also borrowed a bunch of things from me because I always was open to letting her borrow whatever she wanted as long as she returned it. And I'd asked for her to give that stuff back before she moved out. And she said that she would and never did. She moved out, and about 2 weeks after she was completely out of the house, I came home and there were multiple things missing, including almost half of my wardrobe. I had barely anything left. And of course, I live with 2 boys, so they're not borrowing it. And she still had the keys at that time that she was unwilling to give because she stated that she was still on the lease until I got a new person on the lease and she was entitled to come over.
I'll hear you.
Thank you. Actually, the night we were moving out, about a couple days before, about me throwing a cat bowl.
I don't care about cat bowl. I care about her bleached clothing.
Yeah, the night we were moving out, I had quite a few friends over helping me pack and my own mother. And my mom had gone in the bathroom saying, you know, is any of this stuff yours, Layla? And I said, the bleach is mine, but there's not enough to even worry about taking. There's probably like an inch left in the bottle, so I wasn't even going to worry about it. And I also, if you would like to look at it, my mom was supposed to be my witness today because in the police report you can see that Cassie actually said my mother bleached her clothes.
I don't care if it was her mother or if it was you or one of the friends that you brought over.
Okay.
Madam, you're responsible.
Okay.
I mean, that's easy. Nobody bleaches their own clothes.
Can I make another point, please?
Just a second. Nobody bleaches their own clothes. And if you just said to me, I was there with my mother and some other of my friends who came to help me move, it's clear to me that she did not bleach her own clothes. So either you bleached her clothes. I can't imagine your mother being immature enough to bleach her clothes, but maybe one of your friends. Maybe your mother, when she got annoyed and she said, is this bleach yours? And you said, yes, but it's not worth taking because there's only an inch left in it. And she said, fine, and poured it out. Something like that, but you're responsible for her clothes. Next.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cassandra Trester says ex-roommate Layla Richardson owes for bleaching her clothes. Cassandra also claims that while moving out, Layla stole her belongings.
You have any of her clothing?
No, I don't.
I'm going to say it again. Do you have any of her clothing?
No, I don't, ma'am. And can I just say one more thing about when I was moving out? We were moving out, and I got my stuff in trucks to go to the storage unit to put in there, and it was about 8:30, and we were walking right past that bathroom. I didn't smell any bleach. I am really unaware of what happened, honestly. If you can look at the police report, that would be great.
Why would you think she would bleach her own clothes?
I really don't know, but...
What's the value of the clothing that was bleached and destroyed?
Sorry, I don't have it all added. I have it all added in between.
Okay, let me have it.
turtleneck, which was $80. Trans 9 pants, $80 as well. Long sleeve blue shirt, just $20. Pair of jeans, $50. Black short sleeve shirt worth $20. Blue Chinese riding shirt, which is $30. A black sweater, which is $30, and pajama bottoms worth $10.
$320. Now, you have no direct proof that she stole anything from your house.
Actually, I do.
I'd like to hear the proof.
Jeremy called me and was like, Layla just came over. Jeremy.
What's your last name?
Skog.
Okay. How do you know these people?
At the time, I was Layla's best friend and also a very good friend of Cassie's.
Okay.
I was there with Layla helping her move her things out. What Cassie said about Layla taking different articles of her clothing, or I'm sorry, different things out of the kitchen and stuff, is this Cassie's, okay, then break it. That is correct. That happened several times throughout the night. I went into the bathroom to go to the bathroom, and I recall there being a strong odor of cat litter, and I actually mentioned something about that. After I left the bathroom, only 2 people went into the bathroom before Cassie found the bleach, which was Layla and her mother. Later that night, after everything had happened, right after the police officer had called me, Layla called me and said, "Please don't say that my mom and I did it. I swear I had nothing to do with it. Please don't say that my mom and I did it." I told her I'd already talked to the police officer and that I said I wasn't positive that she had done it, but that I had told the police officer that the only 2 people in the bathroom were Layla and her mother. A couple days later, she called me and said, "I want you to see how cute I look today. Can I come over?" I said, "Absolutely." She came over and she was wearing the purple floral skirt of Cassie's that she had lost and the gray New York sweater. And
yeah, just a second. Yes?
I'm sorry, I obviously didn't steal any of her clothes.
Well, let's talk about that particular outfit. He's not lying. He's telling me the truth.
Okay. Well,
he's telling me the truth. That's what he saw you wearing.
Okay, well, actually, I don't have a pink floral skirt or anything.
You don't have one that belongs to you.
Correct.
No, I don't wear skirts, ma'am.
Listen to me.
I don't have her clothes.
He's not lying to me. How do I know that? I don't share my secrets, but I know that he's not lying to me.
And then I believe almost every day that week, she had come over wearing something that I recognized as Cassie's. The gray New York sweatshirt that she was wearing, or the sweater vest that she was wearing at the time, actually was one of the reasons that these 2 were fighting, was because Cassie, it was her favorite sweater, and she'd asked for it back several times, and Layla refused. Every time we went to Layla's house that she was wearing it, she would take it off before we even went into the house so that Cassie didn't see it. Layla has her lip and her eyebrow pierced. She had Cassie's horseshoe barbell in her lip and a barbell in her eyebrow as well, which belonged to Cassandra as well. I've seen her in the clothes several times.
High marks for having places to put those.
Actually, I don't have that many places. They're extra for my belly button. She used them for her eyebrow ring.
I'll hear your witness. You have a witness?
Yes,
Is that why you
his
brought
name
this
is
person?
No, he was there the same night also.
Okay, Steve, I've already decided that she or her mother bleached the clothes. So I want you to pass over the bleaching. I don't want you to waste your time with nonsense about the bleaching. She or her mother bleached the clothes. What do you know about any other clothes that are in Miss Richardson's possession that don't belong to her? Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Good, then you may be seated. Miss Richardson.
Yes?
You're going to lie big. You don't lie over $500, which is what the plaintiff is suing for. She's suing for $500 for her clothes. The bleached clothes alone come to $320. I would give her the $500 just because you were nasty. But I found that you do, in fact, have other of her property that you decided for some reason to appropriate for your own use. I would suggest you better grow up. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Stuff was being thrown around, but nothing was broken. I was in the same bathroom, didn't smell any smell.
The judge knew he was telling the truth.
He's only there for 10 minutes. I'm sure he knew a lot.
Maybe she's vindictive. I don't know.
I think the truth came out, and I'm glad that it happened.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tao versus Perry. Step forward, please.
27-year-old claims adjuster Daisy Tao is suing ex-boyfriend, 33-year-old graphic artist Adam Perry, for an unpaid loan. Adam says the money in question was to pay Daisy's bills.
Ms. Tower, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. I gather that you lived together for a brief period of time. You claim 2 loans to the defendant totaling $2,500. Relationship is over. You want your money.
Yes, that's correct, ma'am. I did not live with him, though. That's not correct.
You did not?
No, I never lived with him.
Okay. When, I'll get to you in a second. When was the first loan?
On February 9th, 2001.
What was it for?
He's told me that he was behind in rent, car payment, that he didn't have any money, and so I helped him out. I gave him a loan of $1,500 that we agreed upon that he would pay me back when he got his taxes. And in March, he told me that he was still short and behind on his mortgages.
Could you put your hand down?
And so then I had to loan him another $1,000. And so at that point, I was getting a little concerned, and I did tell him that I expected him to pay me back. He agreed to this and said that he would pay me back in the summer, because at the time he was unemployed and trying to go to school.
Where were you living in February of 2001?
I lived at home in Little Canada, Minnesota.
At home with whom?
With my family.
Where were you living in March?
At home.
And where was the defendant living?
He lived in Dayton, Minnesota.
Were you working?
Yes.
Did you ever stay over at his house or apartment?
I would go to see him once in a while, yes.
I'm asking you a question. I expect honest answers. Do you
Yes.
understand? Did you ever stay over at his home?
Yes, I've spent the night at his house, yes.
On an average of how many nights a week?
Maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks.
Now, Mr. Perry, it is agreed that she gave you $2,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you tell me what that money was for.
In January, Your Honor, she wanted to move in together. I had a relative living with me, and she asked if I had my relative move out.
Your Honor, that is not true.
I don't want you to interrupt him.
So my cousin moved out, and she agreed to roughly pay half of the bills, which I have a list of a couple of months, which total a little over $1,100, and she said
That's
she would
not
pay
true,
half.
Your Honor.
Do you want...
I'm sorry, ma'am. I don't mean to be disrespectful. What
Then you
he's saying is
can't
not true.
speak when he's speaking. When, according to you, did she move into your home?
In early January.
She moved all of her clothes and belongings and...
She had clothes, belongings, hair dryers, curling irons.
Are you telling me, sir, that she moved all of her personal belongings from her parents' house into your house?
She wasn't living at her parents' house, Your Honor.
Where was she living?
She would stay at some friend's house, and she moved from place to place, and that's why she asked, because she was going to switch her job position and move closer to where I lived so that we could be together.
So she moved in January?
Yes, Your
And she
Honor.
agreed to, according to you, roughly pay half the expenses?
Exactly what my cousin was paying, which was about $500.
Well, now you changed the story.
Mm-hmm.
So which is the story, that she agreed to pay for roughly half the expenses, or that you had a fixed amount of $500?
It was about $500, Your Honor.
Now, about $500, sir, isn't an agreement.
No.
So what was it? Well, let's say this. She moved in January.
Yes.
Did she give you a check in January?
No. She did not
No,
give me...
shh, no.
Okay.
She gave you nothing in January.
No.
And then on February 9th, she did give you $1,500.
Yes.
Is that right?
She said...
Just a minute. And that was the beginning of February.
Yes.
So I assume you were going to tell me that at the beginning of February, having lived there for 1 month and having had an agreement with you that she would pay you roughly $500 a month, she decided to pay you for January.
Yes, Your Honor.
And February.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then prepay March.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's $1,500.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then in March, right now she's already paid in March, for
Yes.
March. But in March, she gives you another $1,000.
Yes.
And that is, I assume you're going to testify that she said to you, well, I've already paid for March, but I like to pay my bills in advance, so I'm going to pay you for April and May.
Yes, she gave me money.
Yes, that's what you're telling me.
Yes,
That's
Your
what she
Honor.
did. Is that right?
Yes.
Bull. That's not the way it works, sir. If somebody agrees to move in with you as a roommate, and let's say she fell behind in January, so she maybe would have given you January, if I believed your story, January and February. So she would have given you $1,000 to cover January and February.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then when March came, she would have paid you $500 for March, so she would have given you a total of $1,500 for January, February, and March.
Yes.
And what you're telling me is, no, that's not what she did. She paid you 3 months at one time, a little in advance, and then she paid you for 2 months after that. I don't believe you, sir.
She wanted me to keep ahead, Your Honor.
I don't believe you, sir. I believe that you fell behind in your bills. Now, you didn't tell me about that. Did you fall behind in your bills?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So you needed money.
Yes.
Is that right? Did you say anything to her about giving her back any money when you got your tax returns in April?
I did not, Your Honor. She was there at least 4 days a week, Your Honor.
I was
Oh,
not.
shh, just a minute. Mr. Perry, when somebody lives with you full-time,
Yes.
they are not there 4 days a week.
No, she was not living with me full-time.
Give her back her money, Mr. Perry.
Hoover and Amy's parents, Marianne and Wade Hoover. Marge says Amy owes for 18 months' worth of room and board. The Hoovers are countersuing for non-payment of services rendered.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, case number 514 on the calendar in the matter of Savino versus Hoover. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Savino, you've known this young lady since she was a little girl.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, there came a time when you received a telephone call from her from jail.
Correct.
What did she tell you?
She said that her mother had her arrested and that she spent the night in jail and asked if somebody could come get her.
Asked if you could come and get her. And what did you do?
Okay, one of the boys that was living in my house at the time had said that he would go to Islip to get her, and he went and picked her up and brought her back to my house.
And I understand you have a child.
Yes,
How old is your child?
18 months.
How old are you?
19.
How old were you at the time you were in jail?
18.
What were you doing in jail?
Me and my mother got into a fight, and she had me arrested.
For what?
I threw a toy, and it hit her.
Where was your son when you were in jail?
At my mother's.
I understand that at some point the child also came to live with you.
Yes.
When was that?
That day we went and picked him up.
Okay. Your lawsuit is for room and board.
Correct.
That the defendant, you claim, owes you for the time she lived in your home.
Correct.
The defendant and her parents are counterclaiming for cleaning chores that she did in your house, working in your store, and for the return of 2 checks that her parents sent for her support. So that's what the case is about. Did you have a discussion with Amy when she came to your house about living there?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation, please.
Well, when she was brought back to my house, when she walked in, she was hysterical crying, and she asked me if her and Nico could stay with me.
If she and?
Nico, her son.
Nico.
She had been with me like 3 months prior for like a month.
Why?
She had moved out of her parents' house because of complications with her sister. And
How did you know her, by the way? You've noticed that she was a little
She lived
girl.
down the road from me. My daughter and her have been best friends for like 14 years. And her mother is my godmother.
So she had lived with you a few months before.
So she went to live with the baby's other grandmother. And she had put her in a basement room with no windows. And she didn't want to stay there until she asked if she can come stay with me.
This was before?
This was 3 months prior. So I let her come stay with me, and then during that interim, they were there for a month. You know, I was talking to Marianne and got her and her parents back together, and she moved back home with her parents. So then when this incident happened, I had told Amy, I really don't have room for you, and I can't afford it. So she had said she would do anything. You know, I will do anything if you let me stay there. I'll clean your house every day, I'll cook, I'll do laundry. And I never made her do that. So I took them in, and then we went and we picked up her stuff and the child, brought it back. I had split up, my daughter had the whole half of the house was a basement room with an outside entrance. And my daughter's one side of it was equal to the other side, and I put a crib in there, and she had dressers. The only thing I didn't buy her was a bed.
What did you actually go out and purchase?
I had gone out and I bought the baby walking shoes. I bought him clothes. He had a one-year birthday party, and since none of her family was involved except for the baby's other grandparents, I laid out $300 to have his birthday party. I took him to the doctor 3 times, and I paid for one of his co-payments on his insurance. I just bought him a lot of things.
So far, you haven't told me about an arrangement you had with the defendant about room and board.
Right. We had discussed how much I was going to charge her. And I told her $150 for room and board, I would think would be fair.
$150 a what?
A week.
Okay. Was she working at the time?
No. I had taken her 3 times to Department of Social Services to apply for social services.
So you didn't expect any money from her, but you expected that if she was approved for public assistance, then you would be getting the money from public assistance.
No, she had said to me if she didn't get public assistance, she was going to get a job, and she was going to pay me back all the money she owed me for living there. Or if she won the support case from her parents, because she had a support case pending against her parents. I took her 3 times to a support hearing that her parents were supposed to be financially responsible for until she was 21. So they granted her a temporary order of support from the parents.
And it was the temporary order of support checks that she turned over to you.
Right, Your Honor. It was 3
And
checks.
how much was that?
There was 3 checks of $75 a piece. I have receipts for them. She had signed the back and turned them over to me.
Now, how long did she stay with you?
She stayed with me for 4 months, from July 1st to October 28th.
And what happened on October 28th?
Well, normally when we went out to dinner, we would take Amy and the baby with us. You know, we went to like the buffets and stuff. But that day, Amy and the baby weren't home. So my family and I, we went out to the buffet, and we were gone about an hour and a half. When we got back, I had walked in the house, and I had asked, you know, where's Nico's high chair, his high chair and his playpen, and we're all gone. I ran downstairs, and everything was gone.
Had you had an argument with her?
No.
Why did you leave?
Because my son's grandmother told me that she had a conversation with Marge, and Kurt, her husband, said that if I want to move out, he's not going to give me any of my stuff.
Where did you go when you moved out of the house?
To my mother's.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Well, I cleaned her house. I didn't expect any money at all, because I figured I was living there. I'd clean her house, I'd go to work with her to her shop, and I'd help her out, and I wouldn't have to pay her. But then when I went to go get child support for my mother, she said, well, you're probably going to get a lot of money, so just give Kurt like $1,000 and he'll be happy because he's been bitching or whatever. So I said, okay, because I didn't know what else to say because I didn't know where else to go.
So?
So I said, all right.
So? I don't know what your counterclaim is for.
The counterclaim.
I'm talking to your daughter.
Sorry.
For cleaning her house.
Get out of here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marge Savino says former family friend Amy Hooper owes for 18 months' worth of room and board. Amy and her parents are countersuing, claiming Marge owes for house cleaning services.
Okay. Your mother threw you out. You assaulted your mother. She picked you up from jail. She took you into her house. She treated you like a family member. I assume she treated you like a family member. Is that right?
Yes.
Wasn't the first time you were there. You weren't working, right?
I was going to work with her, helping her out at the shop.
Other than that, you weren't working?
No, I couldn't get anywhere.
It's not her fault. So, did you go out for dinner with her and her family?
Every once in a while.
Did you eat at her house?
Yes.
Did you use the telephone occasionally?
No, well, every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Did you use light?
Yes.
Did you use heat?
Well, I shared a room with her daughter.
I don't care whether you shared a room with her daughter or not. You used light, you used heat. Your baby was there. There were 2 of you. Right? You cleaned up in the house?
Yes.
So what? So, forget about cleaning. And in the 4 months that you were there, the only money that you turned over to her was $225.
No. My son's grandmother gave her 80. I gave her 85 when I moved in for my son's birthday party. That was all the money that I had.
Well, she spent more than that, right?
I guess so.
Well, you know that she spent more than that. How many people did you have at the birthday party?
I don't remember.
More than 10?
Probably.
All right. And she said that she drove you to the doctor when you had to go? Did you pay her for gas?
No.
She said she paid for the copay on the medical at least once?
His grandmother paid her back.
Well, I don't know whether she did or not, but she says she paid for the copay. You didn't pay, did you?
I have a letter here from his grandmother stating what
I don't read letters.
Okay.
I don't read letters. I see witnesses. So in the 4 months that you were there, I have maybe you gave her $300 for 4 months.
Yes.
So what are you complaining about? Nothing. Now, let's find out what you're complaining about. Yeah, you. You want your $225 back.
No, I wanted the money to go to Amy. If Marge was suing for whatever, the $2,400, we were told by 3 separate individuals that Amy was emancipated. Therefore, I don't know why we were even named in the lawsuit.
Oh, so that you don't want anything back from her.
What we wanted was our day's pay that we're losing for this frivolous lawsuit. We think it's frivolous.
Not necessarily.
Your Honor.
The judge may have told you that Amy was emancipated. Right now, she's back in your house. You live in New York State?
Yes.
In New York State, you have to support a child until the child is age 21. And the fact that you had her removed from the house, the issue that the judge had to address in those initial hearings was whether or not she was welcome back in your house. And if she was welcome back in your house and she left on her own volition and your house remained open to her, then you didn't have to pay support. But if your house was closed to her, and as opposed to her becoming a public charge, which means welfare, you have to pay until she's 21. Well, so whatever the judge decided, that's not necessarily binding for the purposes of filing a lawsuit against you. I don't think that Ms. Savino expected any money from you. I think that what she expected was money from the Department of Social Services. That's one, right? And if not, maybe Amy would get a job and help out with her support. You want to tell me anything else about your counterclaim?
Well, I cleaned her house, and I went to work with her. I did whatever she asked me to.
Tell me what kind of work you did for her.
She owned Plaster Paint Palace. It's where you paint, and they had parties. I helped clean up. I vacuumed.
How many times did you do that? Every day?
Yes. I was there whenever it was open.
For how many hours?
It was around like 8 hours. Well, we were there from like 11 a.m. till whenever we closed.
Which was when?
Around 6 o'clock.
How is it that you went to the store with her?
What do you mean?
Did she say to you, you have to come to the store with me to work off your room and board?
No, but I figured I was there. I helped her out.
So it wasn't her suggestion that you came to the store with her?
She'd wake me up and ask me to go. She needed me a couple of times. She'd be like, Amy, I need you today. Can you please come?
Well, a couple of times in 4 months. A couple is 2 times.
It was more than 2 times.
How many times?
Well, when I was living there for the last 2 months, I was there every day because she asked me because she needed help because the girls were in school and they weren't able to come in and help her.
All right, so if, let's say, what happened for the first 2 months that you were there?
I helped her. I went with them.
I thought you said you didn't go in every day for the first 2 months.
No, not every day. Maybe like, I went a lot. I went at least 3, 4 times a week, 5 times a week.
Your Honor.
I'm going to get to you in a second. And where was your baby when you were working?
With me.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
I'm sorry. For one, my husband owned the store. My husband bought the ceramic store because my daughters wanted it, so they told my husband that they would run the store. I also have a 27-year-old daughter who used to work when her daughters were in school. The only reason Amy came to the store with me is because she didn't want to stay home all day by herself with the baby.
I believe that.
And when she came to the store...
There were a couple of people there who could spell her. The baby was walking around. She needed a little bit of adult companionship when she was there.
The baby was in the playpen, in the party room, with the disco lights going, with the videotape, with his sing-alongs. Amy would paint. Amy, I have a witness here, Amy played Scrabble. I fed her breakfast, lunch, and dinner every time she went there.
You owe her nothing. She owes you a thank you, but I don't think she owes you any money for room and board, because I don't think that was the reason that you took her in. Did you ever get welfare?
Yes.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
When?
January, I started getting it. It was for my son.
Just in January?
Yes.
And you moved out of her house in?
October.
Did you get any retroactive money?
No.
Just ongoing money?
Mm-hmm.
Savino, this is a prime example of no good deed goes unpunished.
Your Honor?
Yes.
And the reason I did bring the Hoovers into it is because when I took Amy to her support hearings, they did say that they were responsible for her support from the time till she's 21, and she was granted a temporary order of support, because, like I said, I laid out a lot of personal, funds to support them. I don't have that.
I understand that. However, ultimately, whatever checks she got from her mother and father, she turned over to you. Did you get any other checks from your parents other than the $225?
No, they all went to her house. I met up with her at 7-Eleven one night so I could sign them over to her.
So that's the only money she got from them. Now, the temporary order evidently did not become a permanent order.
No, they were supposed to go back at the end of November.
But it did not become a permanent order, and by that time she was back home. As I said, Miss Savino, no good deed goes unpunished. Whenever you get in the middle of a family dispute, you always end up losing a friend. And I assume that you've lost the Hoovers and their daughter as friends.
My most is the baby.
Is the baby. Was Miss Savino good to your baby?
Yes.
There is no law that permits Miss Savino in any jurisdiction, certainly not New York, to petition a court for visitation. But clearly, Miss Savino, in order to have contact with the baby, you have to have contact with Amy.
I understand.
And at this point, I don't think that that's a good idea. For you and your family, I don't think that that's a good idea. Were you happy that your daughter went to live with Miss Savino?
I was surprised that she went to live with Miss
Well, where did you think she was going to live after you had her arrested?
She was supposed to go into a home, a temporary shelter, and she was supposed to get counseling for anger management. That's what the district attorney had told us.
Shelter is not a very pleasant place, as opposed to living with a family friend. So why wouldn't you be really happy if she were living with Miss Savino?
Well, we wanted her to come home.
She had been back and forth several times, right? And clearly she needed a cooling off period.
Yes, she did.
So Miss Savino served a real purpose for your family.
That's correct.
Sounds to me as if you owe her a major thank you. Have you ever given it to her?
Well, we were told otherwise by the court that,
Told what
that
otherwise?
Amy was going into a shelter. She would get help for anger management. That's what the district attorney told my wife, and we believed that. And we wanted her and the baby home.
as opposed to going to a shelter, which is where you say the district attorney suggested, she went to a family friend who you knew would take good care of her and take good care of your grandson.
No, we didn't know that. There's more to it than that.
Really?
Miss Savino takes in other teenagers. She had teenagers living in a shed behind the home. It was illegal. It's not a two-family home. She also collects, or she told my wife that she collects Social Security disability. And here she is working in a shop.
What does that have to do?
She employed my daughter full-time.
Get out of here!
In the shop.
Get out of here. Your daughter couldn't stand the idea of staying home in her basement room with a baby at her age 18, by herself. So she went to a place that was very pleasant with other young people. That's where she spent her day hanging around. And if she happened to do a little cleaning up there from other kids painting, get over it.
Marge did write us a letter.
Get over it.
And complaining about wanting money. She wanted $1,000 a month from us.
That's not unreasonable. It's not her responsibility. Your daughter is not her responsibility. Your daughter and your grandson are not her responsibility. They may not be your responsibility because you fought the support hearing. You were found not legally responsible for her support because she had emancipated herself, but certainly, as between you and the plaintiff, it's your ball of wax, not hers. She didn't raise her. You did.
Correct.
This is not her grandson, it's your grandson.
You shouldn't have taken her in.
Should have left her in jail.
She shouldn't have taken her in.
Your Honor, if I didn't take her, she wouldn't have had anywhere to
Ms.
go.
Savino, I go back to something I said to you before. Never going to get through to them. Just pay attention. No good deed goes unpunished. You got it? Ms. Savino, you don't get money from her. You don't get money from them. But they certainly don't get a dime from you. You cleaned up? Good. You went to the store? Good. What are you doing now? What part of my language didn't you understand? What are you doing now?
I'm taking care of my son.
Period.
Yes.
And where is the father of this child?
He's away.
Away where? On a cruise?
No, in jail.
For what?
Well, he robbed his aunt's house in 99.
For robbery?
Yeah.
And then he violated parole?
Yes.
Ah, I didn't put that all together. You're an exercise in poor judgment, Amy. Grow up. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think the whole thing was just ridiculous.
I still think that Amy is responsible for paying room and board for her and her son.
I shouldn't have...
Richardson refuses to hand over title on a car she bought from her. Sandra is countersuing, claiming Jennifer stole appliances from her home.
Miss Richardson, this is your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law, and I assume that sitting in a witness chair is your soon-to-be ex-husband.
Yes.
Okay. According to you, you purchased a home for your son and his wife, and the idea was that you and your husband were going to live with them. Unfortunately, your husband became ill and passed away.
The house was originally bought for us.
Yes, the house was originally
with
bought...
our money.
No, well, sorry, Your Honor.
No, it was your money.
Well, can I just say something? If she wants to lie about
just a second.
10,000.
Just a second. Who paid the mortgage on the house?
I did. It was in my name.
I didn't ask you if it was in your name. I said who paid the mortgage.
For the first 8 months, my husband and I did. When they moved in, they shared the responsibility.
That's what I gather. The first several months, you and your husband were making the mortgage payments on the house, and then you and your husband moved in, and then you split the mortgage payments, right?
Yeah.
But the house was purchased for them, and they were there alone for a period of time. Anyway, the house is really not the issue unless we get to the counter. Don't interrupt me. House isn't really the issue until we get to the counterclaim. We're going to talk about the house in a moment. This has to do with the car that you purchased in your name, but that your daughter-in-law used, but your daughter-in-law used it to take you around from place to place, all your appointments. She sort of chauffeured you around. Anyway, there came a time when you left the house, and shortly after you leaving the house, your daughter-in-law and son split up.
Right.
Your daughter-in-law went home to her family. Where do you live now?
That's not what happened.
Where do you live now?
I live with my mother.
In what state?
In Florida.
And where do you live?
Michigan.
Okay. Did you take the car with you?
At what time?
Where is the car now?
My husband has it.
Okay. It is your claim that you wanted the car, and your mother-in-law said you have to pay for it. You were annoyed that she said that you had to pay for it because you always thought it was your car. but you sent her $3,000. She doesn't deny that you sent her the $3,000, but she never sent you the title to the car and never sent you the car. So you want something. You want either the car or you want your $3,000. Mother-in-law says the $3,000 was for other bills that were outstanding. And in addition, she's counterclaiming because she says when you moved out of the house, you took her property, some appliances and things that belonged to her. So I'm going to cut right to the chase. Mrs. Richardson, since you acknowledge that your daughter-in-law sent you $3,000, what did she send you the money for?
I asked for $5,000 for the car. She sent me $3,000. They owed me like $6,000 just back rent, so I don't figure the car is paid for.
Wrong. If you asked $5,000 for the car and she sent you $3,000, you can't offset that. Get the money that they owe you from rent from your son. Get it from him, not from her.
May I speak?
When it's your turn.
Okay.
She stole $20,000 worth of appliances and stuff.
Listen to
from my
me.
home.
When you purchased this house, for the first 8 months, where she and your son lived there, were the appliances in the house?
There was old appliances. I purchased all brand new appliances.
And when you went home, after your husband died, when you left, in what month was that?
Around May, about the middle of May.
Of 06? And when did the two of you split up?
August.
And between May of 06 and August of 06, where were the appliances?
They were in the home when I left.
And where did you go? From Florida back to Michigan?
Michigan.
And what did you take with you when you went?
I took a clock, my big TV, left leather furniture, all the appliances, everything in the home when I left because it cost me so much to move all the stuff. So I left it for the kids.
Absolutely
you know.
right. So it was a gift. So let me explain something to you, Miss Richardson. Don't get involved between your son and your daughter-in-law. The courts will determine if she took marital property, because once you made a gift to them, you didn't make a gift to your son. Listen to me.
Okay.
You made a gift to them. You left it when you moved back to Michigan in May. You left it as a gift for the kids. And if they had stayed together as husband and wife, they would have had all the appliances. The problem is they split up. And then you said, well, I don't want her. She's a stranger to me now. She can't take this property. I bought it. It was a gift. Once you give a gift, you can't have sticky fingers. You can't say, well, it's a gift, but I'm going to hold on to it.
But I bought it as myself because I lived there.
I don't care. When you left it there. And you didn't abandon it along with the leather sofa. You took what you wanted. You took a grandfather clock. You took other things that were important to you. And you left the other things there for your children. Then, so it therefore became marital property.
She had no reason to steal it, though.
She didn't steal it. It was a gift.
It wasn't really a gift.
Well,
it
Miss
was 'cause I
Richardson,
lived
I'm
there.
trying to explain to you, madam, you're not getting what the law is.
Okay.
That's the law. And if your son, during the course of the divorce proceeding, says, well, she took this marital property and she had no right to take the marital property, a judge will decide that. But it's not yours. You can't sue for it. You gave it away. You gave it away to them. And as between the two of them, a court will determine whose property it was, whether she cleaned out the house or whether she didn't. But it's not yours anymore. You gave it away. Let's get to the car. When did you tell your daughter-in-law that you wanted $5,000 for the car?
Before I left the home.
So that was in May of 06. Is that what she told you in May of 06? She wanted $5,000?
My husband and I discussed it, and I told him I don't feel I owe her anything for this car. I have been a personal slave to her, driven her anywhere she's asked me to go.
Well, listen to me.
Broken in
Let's
and
shh,
I'm
don't
sorry.
speak. Just because you think that doesn't make it the law. Car is titled in her name. You took her where she had to go. You also used it for yourself when you had to go to, I don't know, bowling, Pilates, hairdresser appointment, whatever.
Right.
You took the car yourself. So in exchange for that, you had a car. And what you did was you drove your mother-in-law around. When you weren't driving her around, you were using it yourself. So whether you thought that you were entitled to it or not, that's totally irrelevant. She said she wanted $5,000 for the car. You go back to Florida. When did you have a discussion with her and send her $3,000?
My husband and I discussed it, and I said all I can get is $3,000.
Where did you get the $3,000 from? Look at me. Don't look down there.
My mother obtained a loan.
When?
It would be late May, and I made the deposit in June 20th.
Before you and your husband separated?
Yeah.
And you gave her a check in late May for the $3,000.
Well, she was gone, so we deposited the check into her bank account. And we gave her the mortgage money as well. You'll see it's $4,000.
No. That has nothing to do with it. She already told me. She wanted $5,000. You sent her $3,000. She considered it for other bills. She can't do that. Where's the title to the car?
The original title was destroyed.
And here's what I
Original
paid for
title
the
can be
car.
destroyed?
Here, ma'am.
Lost in the mail.
What?
Lost. She took my mail for 6 months. I spent $80,000 on that house.
Who's living in it?
It's empty. I can't even sell
Just
it.
a second. Who's living in it?
Nobody's living in it.
Why isn't he living in it?
He lives here in Michigan with me now.
Oh, well.
But I just lost
Because if I'm down there, she makes my life miserable.
Shh, listen to me.
$80,000.
I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
I'm not speaking to you.
Sorry.
If your mother's out some money, get a job and make sure she's whole. Miss Richardson, you cannot take her money. That money was for the car. That's what it was for. That was before they separated, so that you went back to Michigan, right, without the car.
Right.
And she got the money from her mother. This is her car. It is not your car. Don't get in between your son and his wife if they're in the process of divorcing.
So this $80,000 that actually I spent, I know she got money, she kept my mail, she run my cell phone up to $1,000.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You could sue her for certain things, but you can't keep this money. And if you spent $80,000, you spent $80,000 on your son, not on your daughter-in-law. You spent $80,000 on your son because, but for your son, listen, if she came to you and you didn't know her from a hole in the wall and she wasn't married to your son, you wouldn't have spent a quarter on her. You spent the money because you wanted your son to be comfortable. And if he was married to this lady, well, she's the beneficiary of that.
So
the house isn't in her name. The house is in your name.
I'm losing that too. So.
Well, sell it. Meanwhile, you have to sign the title to the car over to her because the car belongs to her. You accepted the money for it?
But it's not paid for.
What do you mean it's not paid for?
$3,000 isn't $5,000.
Listen to me. You said you wanted $5,000 to them before you left. There was conversations that took place between the three of you. There's no question in my mind about that. There is also no question in my mind that you accepted the $3,000 in payment for the car because you took it and you spent it. It wasn't until 3 months later when they separated that you said, well, that money was for other things. No.
So she
doesn't go that way. This is her car. And don't put yourself in the middle of these two people. You spent money. It's unfortunate. The marriage didn't work out. The marriage didn't work out, and it's over. And there were certain things that she took appliances from the house. I'm sure that there were certain things that your son took. What did you take from the house, sir? Stand up next to your mother and just answer my questions. Now that you moved back to Michigan, what did you take with you or sell?
Nothing. Because she emptied the house.
No, listen to me. She didn't empty the house.
Yeah.
She took the appliances, according to your mother.
Emptied it. My clothes, every personal belonging I had, premarital. She emptied the house. I came back to an empty house. My mom blew $80,000.
Just a second. Did you take everything from the house?
Yes.
Everything.
Just a second. Shh. Don't speak. Did you take everything from the house?
Not every single thing, no.
Yes, she did.
Don't speak. What did you take from the house?
I took whatever I would need to have the kids having the same normal life they had before.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
One to be 12 and one to be 5.
Don't speak. Don't speak. Where were you living? In Michigan?
When I moved out,
Where did you go?
I didn't have a home.
So where did you go?
I went to a friend's home.
Boyfriend.
And it's going to be over. Do you understand? It's going to be over. What state do you live in now?
Florida.
Which is where you lived as a marital couple?
Yes.
Why did you move back to Michigan when you have 2 children in Florida?
Because she was trying to get me put in jail. She stole everything. She come into my motel room and took my pool stick, and I'm a professional pool player.
Listen to me.
After she emptied the house, took my dad's wedding band he wore for 43 years that's worth $20. It's 10 karat gold that belongs to my mother. All 9 of my pool sticks, all my clothes, 3 different cell phones that she came to my hotel room to get in my hotel room to take the stuff, and I filed a police report.
I asked you a question, sir. The question is a simple one.
It's just all the truth
question is
saying, so.
That's why I moved.
The question is a simple one.
All right.
How do you move clear across country when you have 2 children?
Because there's a lady that's trying to put me in jail and comes to where I am when I try to ignore her to steal things I have. Excuse me.
Let us sign over the car, please. I would run away from him, too.
Really?
Sign it. The car belongs to her. It's your problem how to get it, but the car belongs
Well,
to her.
she should owe me $1,000 for cell phones that she stole.
Then sue her for the cell phones.
Well, where am I going to do that at? I mean, she steals and took money, took my checks for 6 months and taken my money out of the bank and everything.
Give the title to the car. That's what she wants. Counterclaim is dismissed. Very unfortunate situation. You got yourself in the middle of something. You have 2 grandchildren. You should never do that, madam. When you have 2 grandchildren, listen to me. You have 2 grandchildren.
I don't see them either.
Excuse me?
I won't see them either. She's the one.
She wouldn't let her see her grandchildren when
Madam,
we live together.
I'm telling you something. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention. You have a son who I've only met for a short period of time. He's not wrapped too tight. But you're the grandmother. You're the grandmother. And if you have 2 grandchildren, I don't know if he's your only child or not, or if you have other children. If he's your only child, I sort of get it. So that these are your only 2 grandchildren. I would not have gotten into a situation with her where you end up in court. Just pay attention. Don't look at him with rose-colored glasses. You have to know who your children are. You have to be fair. You have to be dispassionate. She may not be perfect, but you have to know who your children are. You got it?
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bridget Johnson claims ex-boyfriend Robert Jones owes for an assault and for funeral costs for their child. Robert claims the deceased child wasn't his.
Miss Jones, according to the complaint that I've read, the defendant was your boyfriend. He became pregnant sometime in 2005.
Yes.
You broke up with the defendant and you were pregnant at the time.
Yes.
It is your claim that he assaulted you, and as a result of that assault, your baby was born prematurely and died. You want the defendant to pay for half of the baby's funeral expenses and damages for the assault.
Yes.
Mr. Jones says that you were the one who assaulted him, as a matter of fact, on the day that you broke up, that he never agreed to pay for the child's funeral expenses. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even positive that the child was his and told you that he had wanted a blood test before he assumed responsibility of the baby. That's your defense?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When did you become pregnant, Miss Johnson?
I found out I was pregnant July 22nd.
Of what year?
2005.
And were you living with Mr. Jones at the time?
Robert was staying with me along with his son because he was having arguments with his mother.
Did you move in with her in July or before that time?
I'll be staying over, you know.
You were staying over?
Yeah.
Okay. And when did you break up?
November 20th as a result of the assault.
Just listen to me. Had he slept at the house the night before?
Yes.
And the night before that?
Yes.
So tell me what happened on November the 20th.
November the 20th, I received a phone call from Rob at about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, then he hadn't been at your house 3 o'clock in the morning.
No, he was at the bars. He would frequently go to the bars and then come over to my house afterwards. And he had called me at 3 o'clock in the morning stating that he was going to come over. I ran downstairs and unlocked the door like I would usually do, and he didn't come in. So after a while, I looked out my window and saw that the car was parked and the headlights were on and the car was still running. So I laid there for a couple more minutes and then got dressed. And when I walked outside, I saw that Rob was passed out in the driver's seat. So I crawled into the passenger seat and woke him up and asked him, you know, what he was doing and why he hadn't come in the house, and he told me that he didn't know. So we were trying to get the headlights of the vehicle to turn off. They wouldn't turn off. So I suggest that we just unplug the battery. I was 5 months pregnant. I didn't want to be fighting with him. I would much rather just go to bed. He wanted me to, you know, be with him that night, and he wanted to be around me. So I stated, you know, let's just unplug the battery. We couldn't figure out the lights. So he started to proceed to back out of my driveway. I told him that he was drunk, that I didn't want to go anywhere with him. And he wasn't listening to me, so I leaned over and smacked him in the face. I went like this to the front of his face. He then looked at me, told me to do that again, And I looked at him and said, "What did you mean?" And the next thing I knew, he punched me in my face.
So first you punched him and then he punched you?
Yeah, I didn't punch him.
No, just a second. So first you punched him.
Yes.
And then he punched you.
Yes.
Okay, now I got it.
But the only reason I hit him is because he wasn't listening to me and he wouldn't stop the vehicle.
I got you.
So then my nose...
He wasn't listening to you.
Yes.
Why don't you just take the keys out of the ignition?
I didn't think of that.
You shouldn't have gotten in the car in the first place.
I shouldn't have told him to come over that evening.
That's also correct.
Knowing that he was drunk.
That is also correct.
Yes.
Okay,
I agree.
keep going.
I realized that my nose was bleeding very, very badly. So I opened the car door and I half jumped out of the car, and he kind of gave me a little push along with it because he was laughing at the time. And I ran in the house and proceeded to call my mother first. And
so you weren't too far from where the house was?
No, I live on the second house at the corner of the block, and we were at the corner of the block.
Keep going.
I called my brother and he took me to the emergency room.
And what did they do for you there?
I first saw a police officer, and they went to arrest Rob.
That doesn't answer my question. What did they do for you in the emergency room?
At the emergency room, they took x-rays of my face, and I was having a sharp pain that was shooting from my back to my stomach. So then I was told that I had to go up to the maternity floor for monitoring on the baby.
And that was in November?
Yes.
And when was the baby born?
The baby was born in February.
February what?
7th.
How much did she weigh?
She weighed 2 pounds, 2 ounces.
And when did she pass away?
The 11th.
Between November 20th and February 7th, did you see the defendant?
I saw him at the court dates.
Other than that?
No, because there was a court order for him to not be within 1,000 feet of me.
Now, when did you have this conversation with him with regard to paying for the baby's funeral expenses?
Okay, the first conversation I had with Robert was when he called me in late June after Father's Day. And I said, well, I kind of need money, we should be paying for her gravestone, and I have funeral expenses that I couldn't get a grant from the state from everything. And he told me that he would give me $200 in August, and that him and his mother could save that together. I then called him on August 24th, and he told me he didn't have the money. So I said that I would pay the rest of it and that he could just pay me back. And he proceeded to say that that was fine. The next time I spoke to Robert was on September 17th when he called me and asked me if I wanted to go fishing with him with him. So I said, yeah, that I would go fishing because I wanted to speak to him about, the money.
Don't tell me why. You agreed to go fishing with him?
Yes. I knew
Is this
that.
the first time you had seen him other than the courthouse? Listen to me.
No.
Other than the court proceeding, is this the first time you saw him since November?
Other than court and then our daughter's birth, no.
Well, you didn't tell me about the daughter's birth.
My sister called him the morning that I was supposed to have a cesarean section. I was diagnosed with preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure, and then becomes toxic and it affects the baby's heart rate. And the first time I had high blood pressure was December 20th, and it proceeded to get worse throughout the pregnancy due to stress-related causes.
Don't tell me what it was due to, madam, unless you're a physician. Are you a physician?
No.
Good. Go ahead.
My sister called him the morning that I was supposed to have the cesarean section. He showed up shortly after our daughter was born, and I asked him if it would be okay with him to go up with her to the hospital up in the cities because we live in Mankato, and she was being airlifted to Minneapolis. He said that he would go and be with her because they didn't expect her to live past the night. The next day, I was released from the hospital, and the following morning, Robert came down from the cities and took us up to the cities where the hospital was because we weren't aware of where it was.
What do you mean he took you? How did he take you?
We followed him.
What do you mean you followed him?
My mother and sister and I followed him in a different vehicle. Him and his mother drove in their own vehicle. So when we got to the cities, he went to a basketball tournament and left us with my daughter so I could spend time with her. And then later on that evening, he came back to the hospital when I was at the hotel the following day.
I'm asking you when you spent time with him.
I didn't spend...
You didn't see him at the hospital?
No, he left as soon as he got us there. We got up to the room.
You didn't see him in the hospital is my question.
No, yes, I seen him at the hospital.
How many times did you see him in the hospital?
Just that first day.
So the baby died in February.
Yes.
between February and September 17th when he called to go fishing. Did you see him?
On occasion, out and about, you know, at like local stores, yes.
Other than seeing him at local stores, did you have a cup of coffee with him? Did you have a sandwich with him? Did you go out to a movie with him?
No.
Is that true, sir?
It's true.
So what prompted you to call her up to go fishing on September 17th?
Actually, she called me, and I just had mentioned we were going fishing, and if she, if she wanted to come, it was a beautiful day out. So she said, sure. So went fishing, took her home, that was it.
Go ahead. So continue with your story, madam. Here we
So
are.
we went fishing.
We are now September 17th fishing, and he hasn't given you any money.
And when we went fishing, Robert and I took his mother to Cub Foods so that she could get milk for the house before he dropped me off at my apartment, which is about 3 blocks away from Cub Foods, which is a local grocery store.
Just keep going,
Okay.
please. I don't need a map of the town.
Okay.
Keep moving.
So after we dropped his mother off at Cub Foods, it was him and I in the vehicle, and I brought up the money, and he told me that he had bills himself that he needed, and I proceeded to leave the vehicle. And then at the powwow, I saw him and brought up the money again, and that's actually
So you
why
weren't afraid of him?
No. Not when he's not drinking.
No, you weren't afraid of him.
No, I'm not scared of him unless...
Why in the world, some 2 years later, are you suing him now for assault?
I just think that he owes me the money. I was emotionally distraught from the loss of my daughter.
I want to know why you didn't sue him before you went fishing with him.
I didn't want to go through the court proceedings.
Well, what prompted you now to go through a court proceeding to sue him for a punch that happened 2 years ago?
The fact that he won't pay for our daughter's funeral expenses.
Did he ever tell you that he wasn't sure that the baby was his?
No, he never told me that. And if he didn't think that the baby was his, why would he go up to the cities and sit with her?
I don't know. I'm going to find out. Tell me what happened on November 20th, Mr. Jones.
Okay, I had broken up with her earlier that day because she was real emotional, and she was kind of abusive towards me. She would hit me in my chest or whatever. She did it like she knew because I wouldn't hit her, and she knew that I'm not a violent person. I never hit a female ever in my life, and I broke up with her earlier that day.
Well, tell me about breaking up with her earlier that day.
I was actually going to play ball with my friends, which I always did, and she kind of got emotional and started, kind of crying.
No,
she cried a lot.
Kind of if you remembered what she said, if you remember as closely to what happened, please, I would
Well, we
like
weren't getting along before this either, so on that day, I told her that it was over.
Is
and
that
later
right,
on,
madam?
No.
Before he went out to the bar that night, because clearly you had to unlock the door because you would lock the door, so clearly he wasn't living with you at that moment. Did he discuss with you earlier in the day on November 20th that he was not happy with the relationship?
No, he had never once tried to or attempted to tell me that he was not happy in our relationship.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, and so I called her and told her that I was going to come get my things.
What time?
This was at about 2:30.
In the morning?
In the morning.
You crazy? Why would you call at 2:30 in the morning to say you were getting your things?
The bar was right by her place.
So you had been in the bar, Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't all like how she made it out to be.
I don't care whether you were all that. This is not an appropriate thing to do.
Yep,
to go 2:30 in the morning,
yep.
to go while you're slightly inebriated, to get behind the wheel of a car and go anywhere to settle anything.
Yep.
You're supposed to wait until the morning.
Okay, so I went and grabbed tried to grab my things. I told her that I just came to get my things and that it was over, and she kind of got mad because she didn't want to never break it off anyways. And prior to this, she had injured herself twice at work to get my attention. She would, oh, I'm at the emergency room, come down. And she, according to her, was in a car accident that rolled or whatever. This is all her stories, and I never had proof of anything, so.
How many times did you go to the emergency room with her prior to November 20th?
Just the day this kid was born. But after she had gotten pregnant, she told me that, just weeks after I found out, she said that we got into an argument. She said she's early enough in her pregnancy where she can say somebody else is the father. And I said, well, how do I know that's not what you're doing to me? And I tried going to her first doctor's appointment, and she left me sitting out in the lobby.
Okay, got it. Did you ever tell her that you and your mother could save up $200 until August?
Yes, I did.
And that you would give her $200?
Yeah, I said that basically so she would just,
I don't care why you said it.
Yeah.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
Now, let's get back to November 20th. You said you were coming to pick up your things 2:30 in the morning.
Yep.
2:30 in the morning you got there, and?
She opened the door, and she didn't want me in. and I wasn't going to barge in because that's not how I am.
Fine, so?
So she basically hit me in my eye because I told her I wanted my things and it was over. And she hit me in my eye, closed the door, looked out the window, and I said, that's fine. That's the last time you'll ever hit me. And I walked all, her sister actually dropped them off at my work.
Is what you're telling me that she never got into your car?
She never did.
All right, I'd like to see the police report, please.
Yes, and I have pictures.
I'd like to see the police report, please.
If I could say something, too, there was never even a police weren't even there.
Sir, you pled guilty to fifth-degree assault, according to the plaintiff.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so? All right, so you told the police that he doesn't live with you. That's what you told the police.
I told the police that he was staying at his mother's house.
You told the police that you do not live together and that he stays on and off, but he lives with his mother. Who are you?
Robert Armando's mother.
Stand up, please. Your last name is?
Jones.
Miss Jones, you told the police when they came to your house on November the 20th to go downstairs and get your son. Is that right?
Right.
You told him to go downstairs and get your son because he came home drunk.
Right.
And he was passed out on the couch.
Right.
Right. And you, sir, when you were questioned by the police, you were so drunk that you denied even being over at your girlfriend's house.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know, Mr. Jones, there is absolutely no indication here, nor, I assume, do you have any medical testimony that would indicate a correlation between your baby's death 2 months after you got this black eye, because that's what it was, and the baby's illness.
No.
No. So what you're suing him for is for the simple assault of giving you a black eye and the $200 he promised you for the baby's headstone. He's not responsible with regard to any of the other baby's expenses because there is no indication that this is in fact his child. In order to do that, you either have to be married, which you are not, or you have to have a blood test, which would establish that he's the father. Then he would be responsible for half of any unrecovered expenses for the child. Since you don't have that, the only thing that you have to sue him on is his agreement that he would pay you $200 towards the child's headstone, which was really gratuitous, but he promised he would. You relied on that. That you have to pay, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Since there is no correlation between the injury to your eye and what subsequently happened to the baby, I have to examine the circumstances surrounding what happened on that day. There's no question in my mind that he was drunk, that he has no recollection of what happened that day, that he's making it up as he's going along, because he even denied to the police that he was there that day. Even your mother was disgusted with you, sir. Is that a fair statement, Miss Jones?
Right.
Okay. Now, you pled guilty to assaulting her, sir.
Yes, I did.
And you received probation?
Nope, I just got a $500 fine.
No, he was placed on probation for 1 year.
Sir, you better start remembering things that happened to you.
I never was. I was supposed to get a probation officer. I never did.
I don't care whether you were supposed to, whether they never followed through and gave you a probation officer. Maybe you forgot. But if you were supposed to get a probation officer, it wasn't because they were giving you a probation officer for your birthday. They were giving you a probation officer because you were on
probation.
You have to learn, Mr. Jones, that there are consequences. However, Ms. Johnson, you don't get any awards for being the brightest bulb in the pack. When you're 5 months pregnant and your boyfriend calls 3 o'clock in the morning and says, I'm at a bar and I'm coming over, you lock your door and you keep it closed. You don't go outside to try to figure out how to get the lights off and disconnect his battery.
Yeah.
And you don't punch him in the face. But he started the problem by coming over there in the first place, which was really very stupid. And that, Mr. Jones, is going to cost you $500. So I'm issuing a judgment in the amount of $700, $200 for the baby's headstone and $500 for this 2-year-old assault. Thank you very much. That's all.
Cody Lawrence says ex-girlfriend Melissa Steyer owes for rent and the return of his belongings. Melissa is countersuing, claiming Cody owes her for half of his home's equity.
Mr. Lawrence, you and the defendant were in a relationship for several years. Ms. Steyer has 2 children. 1 child from a previous either marriage or relationship and 1 child that you have together. According to your complaint, she moved into your home. And after several years, according to you, it wasn't working out because you had met somebody else. Or it wasn't working out and then you met somebody else. I'm not going to get into that because, quite frankly, I don't care. In any event, you left Miss Steyer in the house, even though it was your house, because you agreed to allow her daughter to finish the school year in the house, but you had an agreement. And your agreement was for those months she would pay rent. So far, do I have it down?
Right on.
Right on. That's why they pay me the big bucks. You claim she did not pay you rent as she promised she would for the 4 months that she lived there. And in addition, when you returned to the house, either alone or with your new lady friend, you found she had taken property that belonged to you. You want the rent and the property.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Steyer says there was not an agreement for rent. She took only what she came into the relationship with, and she is counterclaiming. She has a rather unique counterclaim. She says she is entitled to half the equity in your home. She will explain that to me. So how long did the two of you live together in this house, Mr. Lawrence?
Let's see, I bought the house in October of '99. I signed on there.
And did Ms. Steyer and her daughter move in right away?
Yes.
When you purchased the house?
Yes.
How old is the child that you have together?
6.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
All right. Ms. Steyer, were you working when you moved in?
Yes.
Where were you working?
I was working at a nursing home.
Mr. Lawrence, you and Ms. Steyer were together for a substantial period of time. When did you move out of the house in with your girlfriend?
Early February this year.
Did you give Ms. Steyer any notice?
When I broke up with her, I told her that we'll try to work as like a roommate type situation, you know, until the school year ends. But that only lasted about a few days. We kept getting into arguments.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's very hard, especially
So
when
I
there's
told-
somebody else involved.
Right. So I told her I'd just grab some of my clothes. I'll stay elsewhere. If you pay me $400 a month in rent, I'll pay the other part of the mortgage. And then at the end of the school year, that gives you plenty of time to figure out where you're going to go.
And she moved out in June?
No, well, she was supposed to move out in June, but she moved out like 3 weeks before school let out and didn't tell me about it.
Okay, so you're supposed to be out in June.
Right.
So we're talking about 4 months.
Correct.
From March until June, how much child support did you pay?
None.
Why not?
Because we hadn't established that. I did tell her if she paid the $400 a month in rent, I was going to give her $250 a month in child support. Since I didn't receive any money for rent, I didn't pay the $250.
Then it's a wash, Mr. Lawrence. You got me?
Yeah.
You're paying child support now, Mr. Lawrence?
No, that's my next step. I've already gotten in with child support, told them they need to...
Just 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So is what you're telling me after she moved out at the beginning of June, you paid nothing in child support?
Absolutely nothing, ma'am.
You know that my sympathy level for you is going like this, Mr.
I
Lawrence?
understand. The whole situation is, if I can show you...
Mr. Lawrence.
Sorry.
Like that. Now, what items do you claim Dyer took from your house when she left?
Well, basically the house was just about empty. I mean, all she did leave me was a recliner, a coffee table, lamps, and a few items down in the that were in the closet downstairs.
What had you purchased, sir?
We had purchased together a 62-inch big screen TV.
Just a second, so this is something you purchased together?
Yes, ma'am.
With joint money?
Yeah.
So, what do you want me to do about that?
She did not give me a chance to, we wanted to get together and figure out who's going to take what. I mean, she just took
You don't
everything.
expect me to do that, do you, sir? Mr. Lawrence, I'm going to explain something to you, sir. You were in what you considered a committed relationship, but not one recognized by the state. The state recognizes marriage, and the state has put in an elaborate system, Mr. Lawrence, for how to separate marital property, how to divide it. The state does not condone living together as a relationship, and the state has not put into existence how you divide property purchased with joint money by two people who are almost married, and they do not provide a system of jurisprudence, that would be me, to sit here and figure out how much each of you contributed to the 62-inch television set, or how much each of you contributed to the sofa and love seat, how much you made, how much she made. The state only does that with marrieds. You chose not to get married, she took the property first. I would say the same thing to her. If you took the property first, the state hasn't put into effect a system where I have to waste my time or Bird's money in a public system to figure out who bought the 62-inch television set. You didn't buy it alone? Comes under the category of too bad.
Does that also include items that she took that didn't even belong to either one of us because it was my grandmother's that left for me?
Well, sir, then what you would have to do is to show me a copy of your grandmother's will.
I have a letter here from...
Don't show me a letter.
Well, it's an affidavit from the estate.
I'm going to take a look at an affidavit from the estate that says certain property belongs to you. If she took property that was left to you by your grandmother, she must return it. That's your personal property. Did you take any property that he got from his grandmother?
The freezer.
The freezer?
Yeah.
You have to return it.
It was given to both of us, though.
No, she only gave it to you because you were with him. Okay, freezer. That's what you get back, Mr. Lawrence, and I suggest you start paying child support, sir, because despite the fact that there's not a child support order, your child still has to eat. Now, you want to explain to me why you think you're entitled to any equity in this house, Ms. Steyer?
Because I paid on it just as well as he did.
No, you
and,
didn't.
I mean, he had like 11 jobs while we were together for 7 or 8 years.
I would have, at that point, after number 7, I would have said, toodaloo, adios.
Right.
Arrivederci. Instead, what you did is make a baby with him.
Right.
Not Swift. What do you want from me? And if you were together when you moved in 1999, you should have been smart enough to say to him, listen, you're buying this house. I want my name on the title. I'm assuming part of the mortgage responsibility. I'll put my name on the mortgage. Then the house is half yours and half mine. You chose not to do that. You lived there like a tenant. State doesn't put in a system for almost marrieds, Ms. Steyer.
Right.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
He gets his freezer.
Okay.
Counterclaim is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
Marianne Miller says ex-daughter-in-law Kelly Hood owes for the cost to support her son. Marianne claims Kelly is a deadbeat mom.
Miss Miller, this is your former daughter-in-law who is
Yes.
married to your son. They have 3 children together.
Yes.
How long have you been divorced?
Since 1992.
And you are remarried?
Yes.
There came a time when your former daughter-in-law and her husband were having some difficulty, and the 3 children came to live with you. One of the children remained with you. Is this the young man?
My grandson.
He's now 18?
Correct.
But he's been with you since he's 16. And it is your complaint that during that time, Miss Hood was receiving support from your son for his son.
Yes.
And was not sending that support to you.
Correct.
So you're suing for that support, and also what you believe is her obligation to send some support herself for
Yes.
her child. Ms. Hood says that the meager amount of money that your son was sending to support his 3 children hardly supported one child, and that there was never an agreement with you that she would send support. She quite frankly thinks that it's absurd that you should come to court now and ask for what is $18 a week that your son was sending for his son's support.
Right.
Where is your son?
My son is there, Trevor.
That would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, stand up next to your mother, please. Your last name is?
Warman.
How many children do you have, sir?
3 by my ex-wife.
No, all together.
4.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a security guard.
How old are your children?
18, 17, 16, and 8.
Are you remarried?
No, ma'am.
Does the 8-year-old child live with you?
No.
Do you support the 8-year-old child?
Yes.
How much?
Right now we're going to court, and I'm in the process of getting medical insurance for her
So the answer would be nothing.
right now.
And how much do you send for your 16-year-old?
$69 per month.
Or $16 per week? That's what it comes down to. Or slightly more than $2 a day for your 16-year-old, right?
Okay.
Mr. Warman, I've just done the math on my trusty calculator because I'm not much of a mathematician.
He not only gives him money, but he also helps him. He buys some things. I mean, that's just not cut and dry. He bought sheets for their beds, but she didn't supply for their children's bed. He bought sheets for the beds because they didn't have any.
Oh, we're going to make him Father of the Year.
No, but I'm saying he does do other things. He doesn't just give the support. He does other things. He sees his children.
Miss Miller.
I disagree.
How many children did you raise?
4.
And who supported your children when they were growing up?
My husband's and
what
myself.
kind of work did he do?
Okay, I had 2 husbands. Okay, the first one worked at the post office, and my current husband works at a warehouse.
Is your former husband the father of the children?
The former husband, yes.
The former husband, the one who was a postal worker?
Yes. And then I had another husband in between, and that was the other 2 kids. 2 children, 2 children. Well, it's like her. She.
No, don't point to her.
Okay, she's been married 3 times,
don't
too.
Point to I'm not interested in her. I'm on your team now.
Okay.
And let's talk about how many people live in your house?
4.
Who are they?
My oldest son and Jeremy, and my husband and myself.
You have your own home?
Yes.
You have a mortgage?
Yes.
What are the mortgage payments?
$1,100.
So you would say $1,100 a month. Okay, so that would be approximately for the 4 people, $275 a month towards the mortgage, right?
Yes.
How much would you say you spend for food for the month?
I spend a good $600 to $800 a month.
So another $200 a month for each of the adults.
Yes.
So now we're up to $475 just for food and the roof.
Right.
We're not talking about clothes or anything else. How can you justify, madam, $18 a week that your son is sending support for his children as coming anywhere near the kind of support that I'm speaking that a child needs? And I'm not talking about buying pillowcases.
Right.
We're talking about support, real support. Now, if your son has a marginal job and can't afford anymore, fine. That's all he can afford. He wasn't too swift after not being able to support these 3 children. He went out and made another one, right?
Right.
You would say that that's true.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 grown children.
No more.
No more.
At least she knew when she had enough. Do you understand, Miss Miller?
Yes.
Okay. Now, here we have $475 to just put a roof over their heads and to feed them.
I don't make that money. My husband makes money, and he's not his blood grandfather.
I understand that. I'm talking about your son.
Right, and that's what the court ordered him to pay was the $18.
And I want you to understand that that is ridiculous.
That could be. But
ridiculous.
Yes, it is. It's not enough.
$243 a month.
But the thing
It's ridiculous.
Right, but she doesn't have any children in her house now.
She should, just a second, she should have been paying support for her child who was living with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is...
It's very little.
All I'm saying is he's not blameless.
No.
And you should have, before you look towards a stranger, because she's a stranger to you, before you look to a stranger, you should have said to your son, who works a security job, get 2 jobs.
Right. And every time I needed something for Jeremy or Jeremy needs something, he asks his father, and his father gives him money for this and that. He has.
I'm not talking about giving his money
I
for
know.
this and that. I'm talking about helping you pay the $475 a month that you say it takes to support a child.
Yes, more than that.
Believe me, it's more than that. It's just the roof and the food. But your first vision should not be to her. Your first vision should be to him.
That's why I go to him when we need extra things.
Good.
I don't go to her.
Now, what you want from her is the $18 a week she was receiving while he was in your care. Why didn't you send that to her, Mrs. Hood?
I was supporting my son. I picked him up. I took him places. I gave him money for things.
You're supposed to do that. You're his mother.
But that's not true, Your Honor.
I don't want to hear from you, sir. When I hear any kind of substantial contribution to your children's support, I will listen to you. But right now, I didn't hear any of that from your mother. I heard you took them and got them things that they needed. Not saying to your mother, here is the $475 a month that it takes to put a roof over his head and feed him. I'm going to give that to you, and then we'll worry about everything else. So you have to be quiet.
Would you like me to sit down?
No, you can stand next to your mother. You're supposed to take him and buy him things, madam.
Well, I know that. And I also give her support at the very beginning. Gave her the child support card. We get a little child support card.
$40. Shh.
And it was misused, and the child support agency told me that I wasn't supposed to give it to her because I still had custody of him.
I don't know what you mean. You gave her the child support card. What does that mean?
That's where the child support comes on a little, like, credit card instead of sending you a check in the mail. So I give it to her to help support, and I was told I wasn't supposed to do that because I have custody of him.
Well, that's ridiculous, Miss Hood. You may have legal custody on a piece of paper, but you weren't putting food in his mouth 3 times a day. So that's ridiculous. Why did you even ask somebody? If you had a card, if what they do is they don't give you the money, but they give you a card, and it's really taken off of the card, why did you even have a discussion with anybody about that? His grandmother had physical custody of him. His father was sending $18 a week support. As minimal as it is, it should have been sent to his grandmother.
At that time, I had 3 kids.
I'm speaking. This is not what we're talking about, 3 children. We're only talking about 1. So the question is?
Well, the fact about it is this is a divorce decree that I've had custody of the kids ever since.
What difference does it make?
That he abandoned. He denied his parental rights that I had here.
Listen to me. Let us not go back in history.
And then this...
Let's look at me. Let's not go back in history. This young man went to live with his grandmother 2 years ago when he was 16. I don't want to hear about when he was 2 or 5 or 7 or 9 or 11 or 13. He went to live with his grandmother at your request when he was 16, and he has remained there. Now, she could have pursued support against you while he was there. She did not. And I'm not entertaining that. I'm not entertaining that part of her claim. support against you personally. I just want to know is that you have any valid reason why you didn't turn over the support that you were receiving for him from his father to his grandmother.
Because she, like I said, she had misused it, and then the power of attorney
How did
says
she
that it doesn't
misuse?
have...
Just a second. How did she misuse the $18 a week?
Buying dinner for the family and cigarettes for him.
No, I didn't.
Shh. Buying dinner for the family on $18 a week? That's ridiculous, Miss Hood. What kind of work do you do?
I did have a job as shipping and receiving.
Is right now what you're saying to me? I don't care what you did in the past. What kind of work do you do now?
I will be a flight attendant.
So the answer is you do not work now?
Because I lost my job because of her.
Is anything your fault? I want to know if anything's your fault. Now, something must have happened recently that got your dander up. You want to tell me what it is?
Yes. Back in November, her current husband choked one of my grandchildren, and the police were called.
Which grandchild?
Joshua, his brother.
His brother. And they went to court.
Not true, Your Honor.
I have
Don't interrupt her. Go ahead.
paperwork on this. He choked the child, and Jeremy told his mother that he will not speak to her again if he accepts that man back in the house after he choked his brother. Jeremy's definitely afraid of her ex-husband. That's why he's living with me. She took him back in the house. Joshua and Jeremy went to live with his father. She went to court and had child support doubled, and she has none of the children living with her. And that kind of got my goat.
Got it. Well, we'd get my vote, too. Is the money still coming out of your check?
Yes, ma'am, every month, every
And the
week.
children are living with you?
Yes.
When did you go back to court?
I'm going to court February the 23rd for custody. I've got the motions filed in court to get him in school. I got him in school this
How old
month.
are the children?
16 and 15.
Well, if the children want to live with you, that's where they're going to live. Because
ma'am.
at this age.
Because they don't want to listen to me.
Excuse me?
That's because they do not want to listen to me, and they feel their head.
For whatever reason, 15-year-old and a 16-year-old are going to make judgments, and the court's going to assign them a lawyer. And if the lawyer says, my clients want to live with their father, and unless somebody can establish that it would place them in a neglectful situation, that's where they're going to live. You owe her the $18 a week that you've been receiving from her son.
Even though he's back in arrears of child support of $2,000 that he's owed me for years.
Just a second.
And I've raised the kids all by myself without him even being in there.
Just a second. Listen to me very carefully. If he took custody of your son and he was in arrears in child support, we would not be having this discussion. We are having this discussion because his mother took custody of your son, and his mother supported him. While you were receiving current support, not a lot, little bit, you were receiving current support for him, and you cannot do that. You really cannot do that. You should have sent that money each and every week to her and said, I know it's not much. It's all that your son gives me for his support. As little as it is, I'm giving it to you to defray his expenses. You got it?
As she was so inspired about support, why'd she catch in my children's bonds that were supposed to be for their education?
But
to help get him-
Speak. Let her
to
finish.
get
Don't interrupt.
to get my ex-husband furniture, a stereo system with surround sound, a $300 chair, if she's so concerned about support.
That has nothing to do with you.
May I
If she, listen to me, if she wanted to take the $18 a week and blow it when you gave her the $18 a week and she went and took the $18 and put it in a Goodwill box, that's her prerogative. We're not saying that the money that you received for this child's support was enough to support him. It was not. It wasn't enough to keep him in orange juice. But it belonged to her, not to you, because you were not fulfilling your custodial responsibility by maintaining a home for him, which is the moral reason why you receive support. You were not maintaining a home for him. His grandmother was. So his grandmother was spending substantially more than $18 a week to support him. You had the obligation of forwarding that money to her. There's no discussion about it. You got the money, you keep it for a month, and you say, here's $18 times 4.3. I'm sending it to you by the month rather than by the week because it's just too much trouble. Because I know you've been taking good care of him. And I assume if she wasn't taking good care of him, you would not have permitted him to stay there as his mother. Okay. Now, Miss Miller.
Yes.
What she owes you for the child support is $1,028, because that's the support that you should have forwarded to her for the 2 years that this child was in her custody. That's all. Thank you. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Jose Torres claims ex-girlfriend Janice Semeno threw away his belongings. Janice is countersuing for lost wages.
Mr. Torres, you moved in with the defendant and her children while you were separated from your wife. I assume this is your wife, sir, is that right?
Yes.
And it is your claim that when you decided to return to your wife and reconcile with your family, the defendant kept and or destroyed some property that belongs to you. The defendant says you had ample opportunity to get what you wanted. Whatever you didn't take with you, she got rid of. She is counterclaiming because she says that because of your broken promises, she lost wages. She's going to explain that to me. When did you and your wife separate, sir?
March of 2006.
And when did you move in with the defendant?
April, can't recall it.
June 4th.
And when did you meet her?
I met her through my boss, which is her brother.
When?
In May.
Where had you been living between March and May?
My mother's house.
So you met her in May and you moved in with her in June?
June.
First mistake. Where did you move in with her, sir?
And where she used to live in Falmouth.
Falmouth?
Yes.
In a house or an apartment?
An apartment.
How old are your children?
I have a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old.
Where's their father? Don't
Gone.
know.
Yeah,
Gone.
don't know.
Were you working?
Yes.
Who were you working for at the time?
Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts.
Who was taking care of the children when you worked?
They were in daycare, full-time.
Was that subsidized daycare?
Yeah.
Okay. So you move in,
Yes.
and then what happened, Mr. Torres?
Everything was getting fine. I was missing my kids a lot.
You have to speak slowly, Mr. Torres, because I'm going to try to follow you.
Okay.
Everything was going fine. You were missing your kids a lot, is what I got. Now you're going to try to speak a little slower and keep your voice up so I can hear you. See how I'm speaking and projecting? You don't have any trouble hearing me, right?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Good. Go ahead. Everything was going fine. You were missing your children, and
that I would like to get closer to my kids. And she agreed to move closer so I could be near my kids after work.
So you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I miss them. Would you move?
No, I didn't explain just like that. I asked her if we could. I didn't force her to.
Nobody said you forced her, but you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I want to move with you and your kids.
Yes.
So she moved.
We did.
How far away from where she was living did she move?
I don't know the exact mileage.
Time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
no.
a half hour?
About an hour.
An hour?
45 to an hour.
So her children also were taken out of daycare?
Yes.
And she didn't have her jobs anymore?
She had transferred.
What do you mean she transferred? What does
She
that mean?
transferred her first job that she first had. In Dunkin' Donuts, she couldn't get transferred. And then she transferred her kids' daycare vouchers over to a new one in town.
So she relocated her whole family because of you. And when did she do that?
We moved in December 1st.
12/1/06. So between June and December, you and the defendant lived together.
Yes.
And in December, you relocated this family to be closer to your children.
Yes.
And then what happened, Mr. Torres?
I received a Christmas postcard from my wife and kids. She takes my picture with my kids on it and my wife and cuts my wife's face off and posts it on the fridge. And from there, everything went downhill.
So when did you move out?
I moved out before Christmas. It was like December 22nd, 2006.
So she lived in this new location close to your children for 3 weeks with you?
Yes.
So what are you suing for, Mr. Torres?
Just all my personal property.
Like what?
So Nintendo GameCube, stereo equipment, clothing, hats, bed.
And how much is all that stuff worth, sir?
Close to $2,000.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
It's $10.30. I actually had subsidized housing, so it was $170.
So he was getting the advantage of subsidized housing. They didn't know he was living there, right?
No.
Because if they knew he was living there, it would have been $1,000
Yes.
a month, right?
Yes.
Between June and December.
Yes.
Now, what happened with your second job?
They cut my pay and they cut my hours, and I had no idea when I was being transferred, because if I knew that, I wouldn't have transferred my job.
Yes, you would have.
Well.
What, sir?
Excuse me. The reason that she stopped working for Stop and Shop is because of pay related. They did not drop her hours. She had the same hours, but it was a lot of money that she was missing up a week of her check, and that's the reason she quit.
So?
So she did not lose her job because of me.
She did.
Okay.
She did.
Can I call my wife up here?
No, I don't need your wife. You were a big boy enough to leave your wife. You were a big boy enough to have this lady with her 2 children relocate closer to your children so you could be more comfortable, so you didn't have to travel. So she relocated herself. her 2 children, took them out of daycare where they were comfortable, where she had 2 jobs. Nobody's asking you a question.
Okay.
I mean, you knew that he was living with her, right? You knew he was living with her, right?
Not in the beginning, no, I didn't. But she also knew that we had problems previously, and we've always worked our problems out.
Listen,
she knew she was getting involved with a married man.
Listen to me. Shh. I got what happened.
The story's not straight.
Miss Torres.
I'm sorry.
When you wake up in the morning for 8 months and you don't find your husband sleeping next to you in the bed, that's not a fight. That's not a disagreement. That's a separation. And while I think it's dumb on the part of any woman to get involved with a guy who's just separated from his family, and dumber, and uproot her children and her life, there's no question in my mind that you sent a Christmas card with your picture in it in order to irritate them a little bit. That doesn't say you're not entitled to do it. Don't speak. Don't speak. And I want to tell you something. I wouldn't have put up her picture on my refrigerator either if I were her. Put your hand down, smarty pants. So far, you caused a lot of trouble, Mr. Torres. You don't ask somebody to relocate their life and turn their life upside down unless you are 100% sure that you're prepared to make a commitment.
I was committed.
Excuse me?
Everything got a lot stressful when we moved in to Taunton from Falmouth.
You told me things got stressful when your wife sent you a Christmas picture with herself in it. And she cut the picture out, which is exactly what I would have done.
Prior to that.
Exactly what most women would have done. Cut out the picture of your wife.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Put your hand down and don't speak.
Prior to that, Your Honor, we were having the problems with her jobs. She was getting a little bit of stressful.
Was she stressful between June and December with her job?
No, she wasn't.
Because everything was nice. She had 2 jobs, she had daycare, then she relocated, and then she had stress. It was your fault. You get where I'm going, Mr. Torres.
No, I don't.
Well, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for your wife. I'm sorry for your children. You should get where I'm going. Bird gets where I'm going. The 50 or some odd people out here get where I'm going, sir. And if you don't get where I'm going, there's something missing up here. Now, what happened to his property?
I called him from my sister's December 23rd, and I said, you need to come meet me if you want your belongings. He said, I don't want them. You can throw them away. You can burn them. I don't care what you do with it. So I got rid of all his clothes, his hats, because what do I want with it?
When did you get rid of it?
Most of the stuff was on that day. I got rid of it.
Okay, because you were pretty angry.
Yes.
So whether he told you to get rid of the stuff or he didn't tell you to get rid of the stuff, you would have gotten rid of the stuff anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about it when he left. Tell me about what happened when he just walked out of the house without his clothes or anything else.
He was a mess. He came back from work and he was drunk, and he'd tell me, going home to my wife and going back to my kids. And I told him continuously, I said, Jose, I'm not going to move unless, you know what I mean, you're going to be with me and stay with me. I'm not going to move to Taunton if you're going to go back with your wife. And that's what happened. He up and left.
It's a very stupid thing to do. And what happened to his entertainment center?
I have his speakers, and I asked him if he wanted them, and he said no.
Put your hand down. You know how much sympathy I have for you? That much. 0. Less than 0, if that's possible. You have his bed?
Yeah, what happened was when we lived at Falmouth, I got rid of my bed, and he brought his bed.
So you got rid of your bed
Yes,
and
I
took
did.
his bed. He doesn't get the bed back. What else?
Yes. There's the Nintendo GameCube, which my son plays with, but...
What?
I got a list if you want to see it.
I don't care to see your list.
Okay.
She threw away a lot of stuff when you left, which is probably what I would have done if you left. You left, you're not there, you didn't take your stuff, goodbye. Stuff goes in the garbage. But she has your speakers. What else do you have of his?
I have his feet like that.
Okay, good.
And his digital camera.
Okay, I want you to box those things and get them out of your house.
Okay.
Within 5 days, he's going to pay the cost of putting it in UPS or the post office or whatever.
Okay.
Excuse me. I really need to speak because he did not get the story out the right way. He's very nervous. He doesn't know exactly what to say. He was buying back his own property. She did not offer to give it back to him.
I don't care whether she offered to give it back to him or
He
not.
offered to give her money. She checked off that he could get his own property with police escorts.
And
We
I
went,
went.
and she
Good.
said she threw it away.
Good. You said it now? You happy?
No, there's a lot more to it.
I'm not interested in a lot more. I got the general gist of it. Your husband?
You didn't
Your
because
husband?
you didn't explain it right.
Don't speak. Your husband left you, not because of her, because he didn't
I
meet her for a
actually leave. I
while.
just got separated from her. to take apart time from each other.
She kicked him out.
Just a second. Then if you need time, Mr. Torres, to decide what you're going to do, is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? You needed time to figure out what you were going to do?
No, we just need time away from each other.
Then you don't move in with somebody else and dislocate them from a life. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You moved in with somebody else. If you want to take time away from your wife and see if the relationship can be put back together again, you do not move in with somebody else just because it's comfy. Do you understand? That's what you did.
But I didn't do that exactly like that.
Get mad. Speak up.
Huh?
Mr. Torres, your wife may not want to acknowledge it, but that is precisely what you did. She did not handcuff you and tie you to her bed. From June of 2006 until December of 2006, you shared the defendant's bed. You shared her life. You convinced her to move and relocate to be closer to your children. That's what you just told me, sir.
No, I
you
did not
told me that you wanted her to move closer.
But I did not force her to do it.
Listen, those are the things that you're getting back. Period. End of discussion. Let me explain something to you. You don't get awarded money for stupidity. You don't pick up your life and relocate for a married guy. And if you do so on a promise and a prayer, courts aren't here to help you. You have to understand that. His wife doesn't get it because she prefers not to get it. He didn't go and move into a room in somebody's house while they were trying to work out their problems. He found it more comfortable to be in your house, living with you. And she thinks that's your fault. That's not your fault. She's angry at the wrong person. She should be angry at him because it was his choice to move in with you, and it was his choice to move into another apartment with you. It was his choice. He was more comfortable living that way while he was figuring out what to do with his marriage. So her anger is misplaced, and I don't want to hear about it. So you get your property back. The stuff that you just mentioned, sir, other than that, you get nothing. I'm dismissing her counterclaim because, unfortunately, the law doesn't permit her to have a counterclaim for her own acts of misguided love and affection and your promises that you were going to be with her. Law doesn't permit that.
I ain't made any promises.
Get out of here.
25-year-old Aaron London is suing his former co-worker, Corey Bell, for defaming his character. Aaron claims Corey passed around a phony Craigslist ad.
Mr. London, did you and the defendant work in the same company?
Yes, at one point we did.
This is your complaint. You put an ad in Craigslist. I gather you went to school to become a massage therapist?
Yes.
And you put an ad on Craigslist for massages with your picture on it. Does it have your picture?
Yes.
Mr. Bell saw that ad on Craigslist. Is that right, sir?
I did.
And he thought it was really funny that you had posted that ad on Craigslist. So far, am I right?
Yes.
So he circulated it around the office. He sent it to a lot of other people. He thought it was funny. Like people send jokes on the computer, and he sent it to a whole lot of other people. So you're suing him for defamation because you were very embarrassed.
Yes.
That's what this is all about. Mr. London, can I see the ad, please?
Yeah.
Okay. So this says, hello, ladies. Imagine casting your eyes upon this gorgeous whatever. It's got pictures of you, right? And it says, massage for big, beautiful women. Reply to personals, it looks like a number at Craigslist.org. And when people reply to this personal, they get you. Is that right?
Well, they get transferred to an email, yeah.
But it's you.
No, not in this particular case. There's a little bit more to the story that hasn't been revealed yet.
Sir, all I want to know
Yes.
is, it comes back to you.
Yes.
Now, is this the same ad that you sent to other people?
Yes.
You didn't modify it in any way?
No, didn't modify
You didn't
it.
change it? You didn't add words?
No,
You didn't...
no, I didn't. I just sent the link.
You sent the link and you said, take a look at this.
That's it.
That's not a crime, Mr. London. That's not a crime. That's not a lawsuit.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it.
Well,
though.
give me 30 seconds, sir. That's what happened. You put this ad that you didn't want to be circulated among your office mates. He circulated it among your office mates. If you didn't want it out there, you shouldn't have printed it.
Well, no, that actually isn't what happened. What happened is I work for the bank, And I also have a personal training and massage therapy business, like you said. And another kind of job side hustle that I do is I write personal ads for Craigslist. Also ads for businesses, whoever needs advertising.
Very nice. I'm not an advertisement for you, sir. So you have a lot of businesses. You put this on Craigslist.
No, yes, technically speaking.
That's what we're here for.
That ad wasn't for me.
Who cares
I
who it
wrote
was
the ad
for?
for somebody else.
Who cares who it was for? Who cares? He doesn't know that. All he knows is this is the ad that he saw on Craigslist. He had every right to send it to whoever he wanted to send it to.
To my workplace? Well, he doesn't work in the workplace anymore.
I don't care. He could have sent it to the King of Siam. He could have sent it to me. He could have sent it to the President of the United States. He could have sent it to the Vice President of the United States or the Secretary of the Interior. It doesn't make any difference. It's out there in cyberspace, put on the internet by you, Mr. London. He could send it to whoever he wants. It's open. That's what it is. It's like sending an open letter.
To send it to my job for what? For
Who
laughs?
cares? If you don't want to be embarrassed, you don't put embarrassing things on the internet, Mr. London. If you don't want to be embarrassed, keep your private thoughts to yourself.
But the ad is not mine, is what I'm trying to tell you. Can I actually tell you?
Listen, Mr. London, I understand the nonsense what you wrote in your complaint. You said you were doing an ad for somebody else, and this was just a sample of what the ad would look like. But Mr. Bell doesn't know that because you posted this on Craigslist.
But how does he know I posted it?
It doesn't make any difference whether he knows you posted it or not, sir. It's here. It's out there in the world. Just like he sees it, anybody else can see it. He can send it to whomever he wants to send it. The truth of the matter is, you did post it on Craigslist. Did somebody tie you down and take these pictures?
No, those are sample pictures.
Those are pictures that
The
you...
pictures don't even match the ad, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Oh,
it's
yes,
not
they
even...
do. Oh, yeah, listen, Mr. London, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, sir. This may have aggravated you. It may have upset you. It's a very good lesson. If you want to think privately, you go, I want to take it all in, and this is what I want to do. I want to keep these thoughts to myself. If you want to give massages to big, beautiful women, and that's what you're thinking about, and I'm going to see, but I'm not going to write it in a letter to my mother or my sister or my boyfriend or my girlfriend. I'm going to keep it to myself. Once you type it in the machine and you write send, it's over. It's out there. It's in Mexico and Burma and Jersey and Brooklyn. It's all over the place. And you can't complain about it if somebody says, this is really funny. I want to send it to everybody that I know who knows this jerk who posted this on Craigslist. So, Mr. London, grow up. You want to keep things to yourself? You want to talk into your pillow. Don't talk into your computer. Case is dismissed.
Melanie Clegg claims ex-boyfriend Newell Olmsted owes for rent and a television. Newell claims he's already paid his debt.
Mr. Olmsted, the plaintiff indicates in her complaint that you purchased a television set while the two of you were together, and you lived together for a period of time. You separated, and Ms. Clegg indicates that you separated because she found out some things that she didn't know about you. Does that be a fair statement? Mm-hmm. You have the television set. The payments for that television set was still outstanding when she left. There was some $1,200 left.
It was $1,257.
And on whose credit was it purchased?
Mine.
You got the TV.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the TV?
It's my TV, yeah.
It's not your TV unless you pay for it.
I did pay for it.
Show me.
I put...
What date did you separate?
We separated in December.
December 2009.
2008.
Okay. After December of 2008, she says that when you separated, there was $1,257 still owing.
There was only $1,000 owed on it, and I transferred that money into her account in January. 2 transactions from my account to her account for $500 each a transaction. She didn't pay it off in time. Then the interest kicked in. There's 2 transactions. There's one on the first day. There's actually 3 transactions to her account equaling $1,500. The third one was for a credit card that she said I owed her $500 on, so I paid that as well.
Okay, explain that to me.
He did transfer money into my account. It was for a credit card that he had on my name because he didn't have good credit, so he could not get any credit in his name.
Well, how much was owed on the credit card at the time?
There was $400. The balance was $1,000. There's $400 charge, and it says on her attorneys for his divorce. And he also owed me for his child's dentist that I was paying, which I have proof here also that I was paying.
I'm not getting so involved in this complicated case. You understand that?
Yes.
And I want to know how much was owed on this credit card when you separated in December.
$1,062.
Take a look at this, sir.
All that one is the 400.
The only thing on this that I owe was $400, and I paid her $500.
$400 for?
She paid my retainer for my attorney for my divorce with this credit card, okay?
How much?
She paid $400.
Yes.
I paid her $500 for the interest. So I transferred $500. There's 3 transactions there of $500 apiece.
And so what you're telling me is none of those other transactions on that credit card are yours?
I mean, no.
Look carefully.
That's only 1 month statement.
That's dinner.
I wasn't trying to get for that credit card. I was just saying
Can I
that
talk?
some of it.
She asked me.
No. Listen to me, Miss Clegg, very carefully. I see he transferred $1,500 to you at the end of December and the beginning of January.
$1,500?
Yeah. 3 payments of $500, 2 on January 7th and 1 on January 21st.
I did not get those transactions.
Those are my bank records from my bank account to her bank account. So I don't know how she couldn't have got them.
Miss Clegg, I just need your checking account for the months of December and January.
Here we go.
December 2008, January 2009.
Do you want the withdrawals or just the deposits that he had given me?
The statement. You should have it. Transfer from. I have 1 January 7th for $500 that you did, in fact, get. There is only 1 on January 7th for $500, sir, not 2.
Oh, you know, as Clegg L, that's a different account. I transferred that because she said that she needed to put it into a savings account. So
just a second. Okay. You have 2 that you've outlined on January 7, both to Clegg M.
Okay.
She only received 1, but they're 2 different numbers. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there's 2 bank accounts. I mean, one of them was for savings.
Whoa. Wait a second. How many different bank accounts do you have?
I have 2 savings, and I have 1, which the L is my mother.
That's where you told me to transfer it to.
No. I have 2 different savings account numbers.
Yes, I do. I have 2 accounts. I have
2
that's
different
my
savings
mom's, and I have
accounts.
2 other savings accounts.
Show me those 2 savings accounts.
I can show you on the internet. I don't have anything with that
Don't
because
show me on the internet.
Yeah, there's nothing. I have nothing.
Well, then you take a look at these.
Okay. Yeah, Clegg L is my mother, not me.
I just put it in the account she told me to put it in.
You owe my mother money.
Oh, now I owe her mother money.
No. I believe you. Mr. Olmsted.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where you gave her $1,500. She says she only received 1 payment of $500. That's a lie.
Yes, ma'am.
She received 3 payments of $500. 2 went into her savings accounts and 1 went into her checking account.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't believe that he only gave you 1 payment of $500. Now,
one of the Clegg L is my mom.
I don't care.
But that goes towards the TV?
His defense is that he gave you money after he moved out. Some of it was for his credit card, for his lawyer, and some of it was for the TV, $1,000 for the TV, which at that time, that's what was owed on the TV, which he paid for. He said the fact that you didn't make the payment on it and it went up to $1,200 is not his problem. If I believe him, then he doesn't owe you any money for the TV.
I put $1,000 down on that TV, too, which I have proof of.
I don't care. TV, listen to me. All I'm concerned about is whether when you moved out there was any money due and owing on the television that he kept. And there was.
Yes.
And I find that he paid you for it. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over with you, what you say you loaned him for rent.
Yes.
Now I'll hear what you say you loaned him for rent. After you broke up, after you moved out, go.
I paid $2,600 to rent. He came to me in January of '09 and asked me if I could help him because he could not afford it and it would not look good in his divorce if he didn't have a place to stay. So I paid in January 2nd, I believe it is, I paid $995, which he was planning on paying me after his divorce. And
just a minute. Put your hand down. I saw it. Didn't you see me looking at you?
Well, I'm just making sure you saw me.
I couldn't miss it. Now, first show me proof that you gave him $2,600.
Okay. Here's that 1, 2, 3.
Don't give him anything. What are you showing me here?
The withdrawals out of the account were the rent for his house. That's a Wells Fargo account. It goes into a Bank of America account. And I had cash so that it wasn't the exact same amount every single month because I was...
Did she give you any money towards rent?
She didn't give me any money. She paid, I mean, yes, she did go pay the rent for us.
When?
January, February, March. But she received half the rent from him, so I don't know why she pulled out
On 1
$900.
month.
Shh. January, February, March. Now, she was not living with you then.
No, she moved out in December. Just stuck us with everything. Just moved out.
And who were you living with at that time?
He moved in, or he decided to stay to help me with the rent since she moved out.
Was this apartment in both your names or just your name?
It was just in my name, but we lived there together, yes.
Did you move in together or did she move in?
Yes. We moved in together in December of 08, and she moved out in December of 08.
Where had you been living before?
We had a house that we rented. We wanted to get into a cheaper place, so we got into a place that was $300 less a month.
When you lived in the house, were you sharing expenses?
Yes.
And why did you move out in December?
Because he was with my sister's best friend.
Well, that's a very good reason to leave.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Even if she thinks it, it's a very good reason to leave.
It is true, but the reason we split up is because she cheated on me.
I don't care.
So.
Actually, that's for another program, another time slot, not mine.
Okay.
I don't actually care about that. All I want to know is she moved out, the lease is in solely your name.
Yes.
And would you tell me why she paid any of the rent for January, February, and March?
She was helping me out, like she said. You know, I didn't have...
She was helping you?
Yes.
Why, if she was furious with you, because that's what she says, she was furious with you.
I didn't say she was furious.
Why? She says.
She says she's furious. I didn't. Why?
No. Listen to me. Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Why would somebody who is furious with you, she says she was furious with you, give you money?
That baffles me.
I wouldn't give you a penny.
I wouldn't either.
She found out about him being together with her friend.
Listen, go get your 15 minutes someplace else, but don't shout out here.
I'm not trying to get 15 minutes. I'm just trying to state facts.
I don't want you to state anything unless I ask you to.
I raised my hand earlier and I didn't get a turn.
Excuse me.
But tell him not to go far in case I need him.
Will do.
I'm pretty sure we'll need him.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just as long as she knows that he's here. The gentleman, Motormouth, who was here a moment ago, did he give you any money?
No,
towards rent?
He gave me $0.
You never got any money from him?
From him, no. If it came from his account, I don't know where the money came from.
Did you get any money?
That $500 that I put on there that says Tim's half of rent on that page, yes, that's the $500 of Tim's half of rent.
Who is Tim?
Motormouth.
Motormouth.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that money.
That's it.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So you got $500 of the 26 that you gave him, which means you're out $2,100.
If that's what, can I ask you something?
You're out $2,100.
Can I ask you something? Is that going towards the TV?
Forget the TV. The TV's over. I've already made a judgment on the TV.
But if you're accounting that $500 transferred from his account that you see out of Newell Olmstead's account into my account, the $500.
I thought it was from him.
It's out of Newell Olmstead's account.
Oh, well, you can't use that same $500, Mr. Olmstead, 10 times.
I'm not.
You can only use it once.
Tim gave her...
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me. You might be a very, very nice man and have many redeeming qualities. You're not George Clooney. Nobody who's not living with you, sir, is going to pay $2,600 for your rent. Not somebody that looks like that. Do you understand? Take a good look. Somebody that looks like that is not going to pay $2,600 for your rent after she's already broken up with you.
I agree.
But that's what she did.
No, she did not. Tim paid her $450. His part of the rent, he paid her. So that's not true. Yes, she
I don't believe that. And I don't believe Motormouth.
Okay.
I don't believe you should have had nothing to do with her. After you separated, you should have nothing to do with her. How come she gave you money? Did you call her and tell her that you needed money for rent?
I asked her to help me with rent. Yes,
good. You owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Bus driver Judy Greenlee is suing fellow bus driver David Smith for backing into her car with his bus. David claims he didn't do it.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 169 on the calendar in the matter of Greenlee versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Ms. Greenlee, there was a time last year when you and Mr. Smith were employed by the same bus company, a school bus company. And it is your claim that while you were out doing your route, Mr. Smith backed a school bus into your parked car and then took off, damaging your car. You want him to pay for the damage to the car and other related expenses. Mr. Smith says he never touched your car, and he is counterclaiming because he says because you filed these charges against him, he was humiliated at work, he was arrested on the job, and he was ultimately acquitted of those charges. Did you have a trial?
No, the police officer dropped everything.
Okay. And told you to proceed civilly, I assume. So he's got a counterclaim. When did this incident happen with your car?
January 12th of 2004.
And at what time did you leave that day on your bus?
6:30 a.m.
When did you return to the yard?
Approximately 8:15 a.m.
When did you look at your car?
As soon as I got back to the garage.
And what did you discover?
I discovered a dent, and there was rub marks from where my paint had been rubbed off. A part of
Do you have
paint.
photographs of it?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see the photographs.
And I also have a videotape of the bus actually hitting the vehicle. There is the videotape.
So your car is red?
No, my car is orange.
Orange?
Yes.
Okay. Orange.
Orange.
I assume before you looked at the video, you conducted your own investigation. According to what I read here, a little bit of an investigation on your own. You went around looking at all the buses.
Yes.
And didn't find any of them with any damage.
No.
So what did you do next?
We went on our afternoon routes. David's the only bus that did not come back to the garage that morning. So when we both drove at the same elementary school. He was off of his bus, and I went and I seen the orange paint and the rub mark on the back of the bus. My husband was actually up at the transportation director's office speaking with him, told him the damages I found.
Okay. Don't tell me what your husband said. That's hearsay. But you saw orange paint on Mr. Smith's bus.
Yes.
Did you speak to him?
No.
All right, Mr. Smith. Now tell me your version of what happened that morning.
I got in my bus around 6:40. I backed my bus up. I had another bus that was to the left of me that I couldn't clear, so I had to get off my bus because my two-way radio did not work on my bus. Got off my bus, went and asked the backup so I could go around. I did my route.
So it's your claim that at no time did you hit Miss Greenlee's car?
No, ma'am.
Now, you were subsequently arrested?
The police come to my work to arrest me for hit and run, but my boss asked them before they arrested me to go and watch the videotape at the transportation office. So my two bosses, the transportation director, the police officer, and myself, all went down. We watched the videotape. The police officer watched the tape twice. He come out, told me he was not going to arrest me.
Just a second, did you watch the tape with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you mean he came out and told you? What is that?
He watched it twice. The first time we watched it together.
Yes.
The second time he watched it with the transportation director. Then he come out and said he was not going to arrest me. He was not going to write me a citation, that he would let the insurance companies deal with it.
Okay, can I see the videotape, please?
As you can see, David's entering the bus. Starts backing up. He's having trouble maneuvering the bus back. Stops and pulls up. As you can see, my vehicle to the left. He keeps
That's your
backing.
car? Is that
yes.
your car?
Yes. He keeps backing.
But there was no
There
contact
is
made.
point of impact. Pulls emergency brake. Apparently gets off of the bus for 14 seconds to see what he has hit.
Well, there's certainly a shadow back there now that I see.
Yes. Gets back on the bus and proceeds to take off.
Okay, if I hit the vehicle, why do I sit there for 30 seconds before I pull off?
What are you asking me a question for, Mr. Smith? That wasn't a bus back there. That was a car.
Yes.
What you told me a moment ago, Mr. Smith, was that there was a bus behind you. There was a bus that prohibited you from making a turn. You got off and you spoke to the bus driver and asked her to move. I saw no other bus back there,
The bus
sir.
was to my left.
I saw a car that you came dangerously close to if you didn't hit it.
Yes, ma'am. What I'm saying is I couldn't make my clearance. That's when I got off my bus to go ask the lady if she could back up so I could go and make my clearance to the left.
Not a big deal, Mr. Smith. You just should have accepted responsibility and said it was a total accident. I didn't mean to hit your car. I will certainly pay for the damage. And be finished with it instead
I
of
didn't
making...
hit her.
You did! You hit her car.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Unfortunately, we have electronics to establish it.
If you look at the tape like the police officer did, you will see I did not hit her car.
You think his eyes are better than mine?
No, you just have to pay close attention to the tape.
Sir, You have something from the police officer that says that you didn't hit her car?
No, ma'am.
You have a statement from the police officer, even though it's hearsay, which says, listen, tell your insurance companies to take care of it. This isn't worth my arresting you for hit and run. Nobody was injured. You're two reasonable people, working people. Let your insurance companies take care of it. That's what the police officer said. He didn't say that you didn't hit her car. Okay, can I see your estimates on having your car fixed, please? Did you have your car fixed?
Yes, I did.
Good. You're not working for the same bus company anymore?
No, ma'am.
Right, good. What year car was this?
2003. I purchased it 6 months prior to it being hit.
Did you receive insurance coverage for it?
Yes. My insurance company paid for it because approximately 14 days after the accident, the bus company's insurance said they could not find who was at fault because they never requested the tape.
Well, what was your deductible?
$450. And then I also had to get a rental car, and that total was $138.57. And I have
Why
my
are
credit
you
card.
suing him for $5,000?
For the deductible, the rental car, the actual damages to pay back the insurance company because my rates are going up because of the accident, and also $2,801.94 in punitive damages for the stress, the mental anguish that I went through over a year and a half of dealing with this incident.
Unfortunately, you don't get paid for that. So your deductible was $450?
Yes.
And you rented a car for $138?
Yes.
It's $588. Could have resolved the whole thing.
I don't owe her a dime.
You do too.
I do
you
not.
hit her car.
I did not hit her car.
And it may, Mr. Smith, be giving you the benefit of the doubt, because this didn't look to me as if this was this kind of crash. It looked as if the bus was going very slowly, and maybe you just eased into it with the bumper.
But if you could see the damage, even if I eased into it, it's not going to cause that much damage.
You have an expert that's going to testify to that, sir?
I can get one.
What did you think you were coming here for, a tea party today? This is it. You've been hucking around with this lady for well over a year.
No,
Pay her the $588. That's what you owe her. You were wrong. Say, I was wrong, I'm sorry. I know that that's sometimes hard, but that's what men do. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I should have resolved it then. That's all.
Side is excused. You may.
David.
Đây là cái dòng phấn lụa hoàng cung Nico mỏng mình kiềm dầu cực kỳ là tốt của Nico, và cái thành phần có trong cái dòng phấn Nico này thì có hydrolysis, collagen, chiết xuất từ cỏ thơm, chiết xuất từ rong biển, hỗn hợp dimethicone, squalane, tinh dầu cám gạo và tinh chất vàng nano, tảo biển, mica, tắc, methicone và SPF 28 và PA lên tới 2 cộng. Và cái công dụng tuyệt vời của dòng phấn Nico mang lại đó là nhờ vào các cái hạt phấn rộng cùng với công nghệ thẩm thấu liposome, làn da sẽ được phủ một lớp phấn lụa mỏng, mịn, và đặc biệt là nó sẽ thích hợp cho các chị em thích cái lối trang điểm tự nhiên, nhẹ nhàng. Và với dòng phấn Nico này thì sẽ mang đến cho chúng ta một cái lớp trang điểm mỏng, nhưng mà độ che phủ về các cái khuyết điểm ở trên khuôn mặt của chúng ta thì rất là cao, sẽ cung cấp cái độ ẩm dưỡng chất cho làn da được trắng, mờ thâm và ngăn ngừa cái tình trạng lão hóa. Và cái chỉ số chống nắng SPF thì lên tới 28 và PA 2 cộng sẽ bảo vệ da trước các cái tác động của UVA, UVB và môi trường bên ngoài. Với dòng phấn nước Nico thì có cái hệ thống hút dầu siêu triển sẽ giúp cho cái lực để can thiệp được về màu và không bị nó trôi. Và với dòng phấn Nico thì nó sẽ phù hợp với rất là nhiều loại da, đặc biệt là nó không gây nên cái tình trạng kích ứng, không bị dính và kích thích sản sinh cái lượng collagen tự nhiên cho trên da của chúng ta khi mà chúng ta sử dụng dòng phấn Nico này.